Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of the Testing Room, where three of the gaming industry's best video game consultants who have never actually consulted on a video game bring you new topics each and every week. As always, I'm Alex, aka the Godfather.
I'm Christian, aka Alex stole my hoodie this week.
Oh, I'm Preston, aka Funkadelic Jedi.
So I'll tell you why I stole your hoodie this week. There's two reasons, actually. One, because it's actually cool outside. Like, we're starting to get fall weather.
Same.
Right? Yeah. So, like, it's dropping below 70 degrees, so it's time to put on a hoodie. But two, because I have done little more than wake up, sit in this chair, go to bed, wake up, sit in this chair, go to bed. And I have not really showered, so my hair looks awful, and I probably stink. So I'm just... Hoodie
that smell-o-vision
going. I want to live it in the muck and the filth.
Yeah, to be fair, there's nothing really keeping me from showering. Just
at all,
actually. But now that I think about it, like, I put on deodorant every day, so there's that, right? But
that's like showering, yeah.
For the most part,
I'm sure the wife appreciates it.
She doesn't see me. It doesn't matter. I'm stuck up here in this room all the time.
I don't even know what she looks like anymore.
At least until Thursday. I haven't even done anything. I did one thing. I showered one time. And that's not true. I've actually showered more than that. But showered one time recently. And it was...
Commit to the bit.
Yeah, no. And it was for Saturday when we went to a soccer game and watched Atlanta United just utterly stomp all over Miami. A messy-less Miami. Just so everybody knows.
There you go.
But it's fine. Like, it was just...
I think
it was still a vindication game for us. We needed it.
Regardless of whatever pundits... I don't even remember the name. I remember you knew the guy's
Taylor
name
Twellman.
as soon as... Yeah. Yes. As soon as I texted you, you knew the guy's name. But no matter what pundits... Because it wasn't just him, it was other people. But no matter what pundits say about the fact that Messi wasn't there, so, you know... Atlanta should not be as happy as it was. I think that is a game that you can walk away from and feel good about. No, it's silly.
Let's not forget too that, like, they have won a game without Messi too. Like, they have not lost since Messi has come, and that was the thing. But also, like, when we played them earlier in the year, we were a different team and they were a different team, and they stomped us. So it was just a good vindication game.
There was the argument that I saw that people said that the games they won against were from, like, scrub teams compared to Atlanta, like, while Messi was gone, so it didn't count, you know?
I mean, everybody is higher in the table than Miami. They're next to last, so they can't be that much of a scrub team. I just hope that when it comes down to the playoffs, and they inevitably miss the playoffs, and I know... They've already won the League's Cup, and they're probably going to win the U.S. Open. But if they miss the MLS playoffs, I just want this to be the game. Like, the one time you sat Messi, I want that to be the one you look back at and be like, we effed up.
You are the first person that I have heard say that that they're not going to make the playoffs. Everybody is like, since he'll be back for all these other games, they're going to go.
Probably. But if they don't, I want this to be the one.
Yeah.
Look, everybody. I'm not going to get into why I'm very angry about Messi, but I do want to tell a quick story. And this I promise it'll be quick. It was just Schadenfreude that I had while there on Saturday. But I think it's outrageous that Lionel Messi's contract worked out the way that it did, and season ticket holders like myself are funding this contract for a star player on another team for their success. I think it's utter BS. It shouldn't happen. So... when they open up the top deck of Mercedes-Benz, we normally average 45,000 people. To try and sell out all 76,000 tickets to see Messi, and then all of a sudden the tickets are going for $2 and $3 and $4 and $5 and $1,500, which is not an exaggeration. Like, we're in section 206, our season tickets. Next year we have section 107. 206 tickets were going for $400. 107 we're going for $1,250. So, like, $1,500 is not outrageous, right? So when I'm angry about this contract, I will be honest. I took a lot of happiness and joy out of seeing all the sad little children walking around the stadium. Dude, there were Preston,
There was a sentence that you texted that would absolutely end you in jail.
I don't know. I don't remember which one. I'd have to look.
I can read it. You want me to
Which
read it?
one?
Oh, how bad! What I say?
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah,
You can always edit it out. This is not live,
and then
so you're
Preston.
fine.
No, Preston. If you do have to edit it out, you
I'm
need
gonna
to
bleep
bleep.
it.
I was gonna say just a
Bleeping's
long
always
bleep.
more funnier than
Okay, yeah. Let me.
funnier.
I don't remember what I said.
That's what it was. I am getting such a high off the sad children walking around.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
There was-
all three.
It's
both
very
of you
evil.
can go on a watch list.
Very evil, but like
I mean, dude, there
Out
was.
of context, that is something that you would find off a child rapist phone.
it's just sad children. It's like not saying that they're hot children.
You're getting a high off them.
Yeah,
So
getting a high off
Oh,
someone else's
children's tears.
sadness.
All right.
Before we
I'll
take
see
this-
you I'll see you in jail, buddy.
It's not getting
Okay.
wrecked off of the sadness.
Yeah.
before we
I'm
take
getting
this
high-
too far,
High
before we take this
and
too
getting
far,
horny are
Unbelievable.
two separate
I-
things. I don't get fucking stone cold
Saying-
boners when I get
saying that you're getting a body high. I am getting so high off of these sad children.
You're making it so much worse.
No, that's the words. I'm not making it worse. The English language made it worse enough. It's there. It's already done. I didn't do anything. Those are the words that were typed.
Sure.
literally, these parents and this kid. So there were kids all over the section that I was at, and none of them were wearing Atlanta gear. What were they all wearing? Messi gear. And was it Argentina Messi gear? No, because that would be like, oh, maybe they are Argentinian or they were fans years ago.
Not
No,
true
all
fans.
Miami stuff.
They're
right?
they're children. They're children, by the way.
I mean, to be fair, plenty of adults too, right? Like adult,
Right, but the people you're talking, it's just
The
children.
adults are
It's
buying
okay.
the
Yeah,
kids
yeah, but
those
this specifically was a child and two parents, and they sit down, and like, I'm already irritated, and all the people walk around. It's like an away game at home, and the kid goes like, "Where's Messi?" So the dad's like, "I don't know. Let me look." So he pulls out his phone. He zooms in with the camera. He's going from like person to person to person to person, and he can't find him. So then the dad realizes that Messi isn't on the field. And what does he do? He looks up on his phone and realizes that Messi's not going to be there. He didn't even travel. So like he's not even just like there, right? So then
He's
what
taking
does he
it Miami.
do? He goes, "Hey, I'm going to go get a drink." And he goes to get a drink and is gone
Doesn't come back?
until halftime.
Oh,
Where like the kid had to sit through like the announcement of the lineups and then like looking up at his mom like, "Where's Messi?" Right? But then it was even funnier towards the end of the game. So like as Atlanta's just destroying Miami, then they start chanting like, "Where is Messi?" Because like you guys are trash
They
without
paid
him.
the tickets for that, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people paid the tickets, which is hilarious. But then you have this little kid in front of us and many others start also chanting, like, "Where is Messi?" Like, "Hey, put him on the field," sort of thing. So, like, it's this really interesting bit of the Atlanta fans making fun of the Miami fans and then all the children not understanding what's really going on.
Going along with it.
And, like, I probably sound like a terrible, terrible person telling this story, and I just want to confirm those feelings. I am a terrible, terrible person because that was the day that so many kids got to learn that life isn't always fair. And maybe you should support your local teams and actually give a shit.
Other athletes on the
Oh
team.
And not
God,
just-
they're children. This is so dramatic. I agree with you about fair weather adult fans, but kids being in, it is ridiculous to me that we're talking. It's like showing like when LeBron lost the finals, it's like going around and punching all the children in Lakers gear, being like, maybe you should actually like basketball instead of watching LeBron. Blah, blah, blah. It wouldn't make any sense. They're kids. They're allowed to like.
It was funny. It was funny for the adults too. However, I would assume a lot of the adults found out ahead of time because there was nowhere near 70,000. Like we probably had the normal amount of people, the 45-ish thousand people that we typically do. But I would assume a lot of the adults who wasted that money either just like said, "Let's go do something else because he's not here,"
We got
or
drunk.
resold those tickets.
I think it is very bold of you to believe that adults were following, like what I will say, casual fans. Speaking as a casual fan, that were following it that closely. Because you want to know when I found out Messi wasn't playing?
When you watched the game,
5 minutes before the game, when I turned it on, they said Messi didn't travel. I
Oh,
said,
they didn't. They didn't announce it until 11:30 p.m. the night of, like the night before.
Right, so that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
I bet you every single one of them that was still there probably and they did that for a good reason, right? Like, I mean, that's not,
Oh yeah, because everybody would have been losing their mind and probably also trying to sell tickets and not come and so on, right?
yeah, and it would have been
Yeah.
a bad look and all that other stuff, right? So you want to convince people, but that's what they're hoping for. So no, I don't think that I think every single one of those adults probably was, not every single one, but most of them were definitely under the impression he was going to be there.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. It's going to be real interesting. Sorry, this is the last thing I'll say on our sports pod today. It's going to be really interesting. So everybody said, like, Messi was tired. He picked up a slight little tweak in international duties. They're arresting him, right? But there was a big drama when he first came that since he was a kid, he's never played on turf. And, like, if you guys watch, like, football and other stuff, like, turf is very dangerous. Like, a lot of people get hurt on turf versus natural grass. So they said they were arresting him, but I think they didn't want to put him on turf right after the international break and risk something, which is part of it. And it's going to be interesting to see if that's confirmed or not by the last game of the season. If they're in the playoffs, they will probably rest him again because they go to Cincinnati, which is the only other team they play that plays on turf.
Really?
And if so, that's going to be really funny. Yeah.
Well, also in soccer news, I was also happy because Chicago broke their 4-game losing streak with a draw.
With a 0-0 draw, right?
Hey,
not a loss.
not a loss, baby.
You want to know what's crazy too? Like, everybody gives soccer crap of like, oh, soccer's so low scoring and blah blah blah. And while that used to be true back in the day, like nowadays it's not uncommon to see 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, our game was 5-3, right?
Yeah.
Like
Now,
or 5-2. Sorry, it's not uncommon. It is actually uncommon nowadays to see a 0-0 draw.
hey, leave to Chicago, man. I still feel like, if you see a score like 5-3, that does still feel relatively low scoring compared to other sports, right? But I think the thing that ended up swaying me was like, because NBA, watching basketball, it very much is like the number go up, like kind of enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think that the swing with soccer is the tension, where it's like it's the entire game is like the last 5 minutes of a NBA quarter, where you're like, oh man, dude, like if it happens,
The momentum changes on a dime.
right. So then, but that's the whole game, right? Like if people are up 2, then you're like, well, that could be the fucking game. Like by the time, fucking 20 minutes goes by before they can even get a play set up right to get it to the point where they might have a decent enough shot on a goal to even get it, to go. So if you're up 2, like, that's what I think. It's funny when you see a lot of, like, especially when in that game that we watched, or that I watched, that you were at, but the Atlanta-Miami one was like, it was, people were all up in arms about the first goal that was like potentially not a goal, potentially a goal, back and forth, yada, yada, yada.
The first Atlanta goal.
Yeah, the first Atlanta goal. And all I could think of during that time was, dude, that wasn't the goal that mattered. You could take that goal away and the game's momentum still shift, because the one that killed Miami, the one that killed their momentum, was when Atlanta scored it off of one of their players, like kicked him in his shins. Yeah, and it went right in, and you could see it in the player's face, just like, oh, I fucked us. Like, we are fucked. And then
and you saw we scored that first goal, and then that happened 3 minutes later, and we scored again 4 minutes later. We had 3 goals in 7 minutes, and that momentum just turned around. Yeah. I like basketball as well. Allie does not, but I like basketball for the same reason. Like, number go up, it's fun, you have the drama at the end of the game. It's really, like, everybody gives soccer crap, but hockey isn't that much higher scoring. Football isn't either. The scoreboard is, but like 2 touchdowns is
Multiple
only 2
points
scores,
for 1 goal.
right?
Yeah.
Like
The only,
you know what I mean?
difference,
Like
the difference between hockey and soccer, and the reason that I think hockey is, and I don't care. I do not want to hear anything. Whatever fans are going to come.
you know me, I watch all sports, so I don't.
I think the reason that I think hockey is even below baseball as far as one of the most boring sports to watch, is probably the most boring sport to watch, is because the difference between soccer is, like I said, for me anyway, it's the distance that those players have to close to be able to get in a position to score, right? Very rarely are you seeing somebody pull off like a fucking Hail Mary from the other end of the soccer pitch to go into the other goal, right? Like I'm sure it's happened before, but it's probably extremely, extremely rare. And so, but hockey, like it's the ice rink is a fraction of the size of a soccer field. And so I think the tension is a lot less because you're like, oh, well, you know, 2 seconds and they're going to be right back in the ability to score. And then, honestly, the only reason that people enjoyed hockey in the 90s was because people beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah. That's very fair.
And Americans love blood sports. That's what it is.
Truth. So anyway, let's bring this full circle. EA Sports' new soccer game is trash. Anyway, moving on. So, let's discuss our weeks.
Nope.
Nope.
No. Oh, Preston's comment corner. Man, I swear, if he just gets sassy and says, I have no comments right now.
You know we have comments because you were involved in the text chat that the comments from.
Bold of you to assume he read them.
I mean, I was going to say, I have not
assuming.
read it. I have not read any text messages. I assume, though, by that comment, though, it is from Jake, so I'll pull it up right now.
It would be.
Yeah, you haven't seen, I haven't responded since, last Wednesday in that chat.
To our other one. But yeah. Comment corner.
Go ahead.
From Jake.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Through his personal means. If somebody only plays games like Brain Age, Sudoku, word games, etc. on the DS, are they considered a gamer? Yeah, sure.
Yes.
You play a video game console. You bought a DS. You didn't buy a book of Sudoku. You bought a DS to play Sudoku.
Does it have to be on the DS though? Because
No.
I do those.
If you
games.
do Sudoku, for some reason you buy a PS5
do-
and play Sudoku, sure, why not? Go on.
What about your phone? I do the Apple News crossword on my iPhone
Sure.
every day.
That's gaming.
I think
Okay.
You are video gaming.
not
screen.
that these people should want to be called gamers.
No.
Because I think
don't want to.
they should avoid it at all costs. Never ever let somebody call you that horrible word. But yes, you are. If
You game.
I even think if you're just a tabletop person, those are games. You're playing games.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not like, you can call it, you can, be like, oh, it's a subgenre, whatever. It's,
You're gaming.
yeah.
I will take it a step further and say I will agree. So I won't go the contrarian route today. I will agree. I think they're
Not
gamer, but
today.
I would not right now. Anyway, maybe later.
Don't have the time for that shit.
I bet you that there's very few people, if they have a DS or even an iPhone for that matter, if Sudoku or the crossword or something is literally the only game they have on there. So though they may not consider themselves a gamer and that's the one they turn to, I bet you they may dabble in other
I
stuff.
knew parents who were all about just playing Tetris on a Game Boy. They had Game Boy, they had Tetris, and that's all they fucking played on that damn thing.
Yeah. But here's why I will say yes to that, Jake, because there are plenty there are plenty an Asian Final Fantasy subscriber that plays Final Fantasy XIV solely for the mahjong because they can't actually go other places and play mahjong, and they do nothing else in that game other than play mahjong.
That is true.
So
Live that life.
yeah, same thing. It's the same thing. They have a computer to play mahjong instead of a DS to play Sudoku. It counts.
Yeah.
Sure.
Whatever your preferred method is of playing a game, whether it be
Makes you
virtual
a
or
gamer.
real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, you should avoid being called that at all costs.
Should. Don't go around and wear a t-shirt.
Except-
Says it.
Yeah.
That doesn't hold true for everybody. I will say there is one group of people that probably considers themselves video game enthusiasts that are absolutely not. If you still own a Stadia or ever owned a Stadia, nobody takes you seriously.
You can own a Stadia?
Yeah, it had some. It had a controller or something. It had something.
That's a peripheral.
It's a peripheral.
Yeah,
It's
they
a
still-
controller.
There was some sort of hardware with it,
No, it was
right?
not.
Controller works.
No.
Yeah.
Chromecast.
Oh yeah. If you want to say, call
Oh,
it. if you want-
Chromecast.
if you want-
Yeah, the Chromecast with it.
All right. Fair enough. Gamer with a hard R.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
All right. Anything else?
Nope. That is the comment corner.
It's a good question. I would like Jake to expand on that. I want to know why that question came up.
You got a phone
Like, did
right
he just sell an old DS to somebody?
Dude,
Right.
I don't know what happened today on Preston's day off, but Sassy Preston is here.
there. Let's get it. It's late night podcast night. You're gonna have it.
You know what, Preston? Just because of that, I'm going to shit all over your book club game today just because.
Gross.
If you're going to be sassy, I'm going to be sassy.
Fair.
Yeah, that's
What
what
you
we
gotta
need. The vindictive book club.
Bringing all that beyond good and evil hate this way. Keep on bringing it. Keep the train rolling.
All right. Who wants to start things off?
Weeks.
I can go.
Go for it.
Okay. Do it.
So the main thing that happened this week for me, because I'm still playing Baldur's Gate 3, is I have abandoned Starfield.
That is also on my list of things to say.
So we can talk about this now. So
Sure.
I don't want this to come off like I'm saying Starfield is a bad game.
Same.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't enjoy it. I'm not saying that
Happy
there's
for
nothing
those who are.
enjoyable about it. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying that there's nothing to enjoy. There's plenty of things to like in the game. Specifically for me, the biggest thing that it boiled down to was I think that Starfield's biggest issue is the main narrative is not that interesting to me. It didn't grab me in the time that I was playing it. I put let me look.
You put a chunk in.
I think 9 hours in,
Yeah, like
10
6.
hours in.
Yeah.
So, I know that it's like,
I hear.
its story is at 15 hours, and then the game itself is like at 15 or 55 hours. So, I put about a fifth of the time into it. But I think 10 hours is more than enough to know whether or not something's going to do it for you. So the main narrative didn't really particularly grab me at all. And I started thinking on this, and I was like, well, outside of Morrowind, none of them really have. Like, none of Bethesda's games' main narrative is the hook for me. And so I was like, well, then
Oblivion
what's
was
the...
fun.
It's fine, but it's not, again, everything that you, and this is my opinion, everything that I remember from Oblivion had nothing to do with the main narrative and had everything to do with everything else. And specifically, and I'll get to this, which is something that I think I put in the giant text that I sent to you guys, but that only Preston responded to because he reads the text messages.
I read that whole message.
I'm just kidding. But so the thing that I found that was different is I was like, okay, all of the side stuff in the Elder Scrolls game, or not the Elder Scrolls, in Bethesda games is what keeps me coming back to them. Those are like my best memories. Is like all the random just shit that you can run into, right? So then I was like, well, that's been the case with Starfield too. I've had some fun with the side stuff. So what is it that's different? What am I like? What's missing? Why is it not continuing to propel me forward like this is, or like the other ones have? And I think this is the main thing. Starfield's exploration is pretty flat in comparison to its other games. So Morrowind and Oblivion and Fallout 3 all have, and Skyrim too, all have this great thing of when you load into that world, specifically, I will be thinking of Morrowind and Oblivion for this, and a little bit of Fallout 3 too. When you finally load into the world, like whatever after the main narrative like lets you go, you are what you see immediately is a bunch of different things off the horizon, and it's just like, I want to go check that out, whatever that might be. It looks cool. I wonder what that building is on top of this mountain. I wonder what this is. I wonder what that is off in the distance. Yada yada yada. Whatever. And then on your way there, because you thought that whatever like landmark that you wanted to pick out was cool, now all of a sudden you have a thing to go do, and then on your way there, all these different things, random things might happen, right? And what ends up being like, oh, I want to go see what that this building is on the edge of this cliff or whatever, ends up turning into, I went and discovered a cave and had this happen, and then I met this NPC who started this quest, or yada yada yada. Or like in Morrowind's case, one of the most famous examples is as you're walking off one of the paths, like you hear somebody scream, and their scream gets louder and louder and louder, and then they drop from the middle of the sky, and then all that's on him is a book about these insane boots that he found that are supposed to let him like super jump, and that's it. And then he's like, I'm gonna document my process of me testing out these boots. Here comes my first jump, and then there's no more entries in the diary. And you're like, this is hilarious. I cannot believe this. So then your first instinct is like, I'm gonna put these boots on and see what happens. And sure enough, as soon as you do it, it sends you straight into the stratosphere, and you will fucking fall down and like hit the ground and whatever, right? Oblivion has plenty of things like that. There's plenty of things that I remember from Oblivion where you're just running around, and like the way like in Oblivion, the first time that you kill somebody and then the Dark Brotherhood meets you in your sleep, right? Mm-hmm. And the guy's just sitting there over you. Amazing. Fantastic way to do it, and it's this weird, creepy dude, and he does the whole thing. Skyrim had every single time that you'd be walking around in that environment, and I shouldn't be so dismissive because Skyrim totally had a lot of
whenever
stuff
you
like
found
this.
a dragon wall was really dope.
Right, like, or just a dragon in general, right? Like, you'd just be one, and then you would hear the fucking, in my case, if you were running the Randy Savage mod, you would hear, the natural man is coming, and it'd be like coming on the thing. It's fantastic, right? It always, it hits. And then Fallout, to a lesser degree, but had a similar thing where, like, especially if you're halfway familiar with where that Fallout was based in, right? Like, you're gonna go and walk around and be like, I want, like, the first Fallout 3 being based in Washington, D.C., right? Like, you're gonna go around and be like, I know at least by virtue of living in this country, I know at least some of the monuments to go look for. So you're like, I'll go try to figure this out. And then, of course, hijinks ensue. Now, Starfield's problem when it comes to this is it does not have that, because you are just warping from system to system, and then when you get into the system, more or less most of the systems look the same. Some of the planets might look different, like some might have rings, some might be whatever, but for the most part the general area that you stumble into is the same. And so then what happens is sometimes you'll get into a system and nothing happens. And other times you'll get into a system and a ship will ask you something, like it'll run up and ask to like talk to you, like it'll give you a hail and you can answer it or you cannot and do whatever, right? But that's really the loop, and there's no sort of like, ooh, what's that? Like I have to have a reason to go to experience some of this side stuff. So when I ran out of quests that I thought looked interesting, and then and the main narrative wasn't grabbing me, I'm sitting there being like, what am I, like, I guess I'll just keep, like, I was having this moment where I'm sitting there being like, I guess I'll just keep doing the main story and then see what I run into.
So and do you run into a similar situation if you land on a random planet? Because I know that the planets aren't quite as free roam and as big and as open as people expect it, which I think that's a problem of like consumer expectations and just not understanding what's possible. But like when you land on a planet, do you have that of like, I want to go see that?
So here's the thing. I agree with most of what you said. So it is definitely a problem with consumer expectations, mostly because Bethesda never said that was going to happen. At least to my any of the stuff that I watched, I never saw Bethesda promise that it was going to be like a No Man's Sky-esque. Like,
But they did say 1,000 planets, and if you're a normal person, you have to think there's no way they could render 1,000 planets to be completely explorable.
They did say most of them were going to be barren, and they said like real space, which is fair, totally fair, by the way, right? And then people, like I saw people get mad that you couldn't land on gas giants, which I don't know how to tell you this.
Can't.
But you can't. Like, I don't know. That's kind of a crazy thing to say. But either way. No, the problem actually, like, gets even worse when you land on a planet is because, at least so all the ones that I checked out, this could not, I'm sure I didn't find the coolest one, right? Like, I believe that. But the planets I checked out are totally nothing except for whatever your objective is to get there, right? So, like, I had a quest that sent me to this random planet to go deal with, like, this spacer hideout, like the bandit hideout, essentially. And that planet had fuck all on it outside of their little base. And then even then, in some of the... Now, the other flip side of this is like, okay, well, how are the crafted areas? Like the cities, right? Like, what does that look like for exploration? And my biggest problem with those is it is because of I'm assuming the size of everything that they're trying to do, or I honestly don't know what makes it different from their other games. Like, the big cities are just like 6 or 7 collections of smaller maps that you travel between, right? So, like, I land in the residential district of New Atlantis, for instance, right? And then I'm like, okay, let's run around. But I end up exploring it relatively quickly because it's really not that big. And then you're like, well, and they're like, oh, well, go check out the bottom of the city. You're like, oh, sick, I must have missed something somewhere. And it's like, no, it's just an elevator that will take you straight down and you'll load into this whole separate other part of the city. But when I get in there, it's a brand new loading screen, and then I'm waiting to get dropped into it, and then I can keep going. But then that's a smaller, like another small map that I'm going to finish up relatively quickly. And then once I get done with that, it's like, okay, well, it's like, oh, well, there's the commerce district. And you're like, okay. And then you go and do that, and it's a similar situation as the other ones where it's a smaller map. But they're like, look at this whole city of New Atlantis that has all these different things. And you're like, kind of, but it's just like, it's just small maps that you've allowed me to load between, right? Kind of thing. I know everybody's really pumped about the city Neon. I never got to it, so I don't want to like pass any. Again, I need to be very specific because I know how people are about. One, I'm a Bethesda game fan. Like, I do dig their games most of the time. I think the loop in Starfield specifically just didn't hit for me because of those reasons, right? Like, when I'm sitting, like when I'm, it was just something that hit me while I was playing them or playing this one, where I was just sitting there like, I don't think I've ever actually really cared about the main narrative in a Bethesda game. Like, it's sort of the reason that you're like, I have this overarching objective that I'm supposed to go take care of at some point, right? Like, think about like Fallout 3. It's like, you gotta go find your kid. Okay, well, whatever the fuck that means. But in the meantime, like, I know that I'm supposed to head this way, like, you know, a million miles that way.
And I find out that there's a whole this brotherhood of wolves, werewolf kind of people. And I'm like, oh my god, this is the coolest fucking side quest in the world. That could have been the game for me almost to a point.
Right. That's my right. So like that happens.
I haven't ran into that in fucking Starfield, because Starfield, I'm doing a mission, and I can't figure out how to get to this point because I haven't been to that area. Now I gotta find out how to get there. Not to mention, I got people who I'm just walking past who are giving me quests. I'm not initiating this with them. I'm not talking to them. This dude's like, yeah, I wonder about this family, and I wonder if this one guy's doing all right. And then it's like, quest updated. You must to complete this quest, you need to find out about Jared.
Yeah, go check on this guy. Yeah, and you're like, why do I give a fuck about that?
Like, that's why are you talking to me? You have no idea who I am. I just got here to this planet. Well, and then all of a sudden it's like, you should check on so-and-so. I'm like, why?
And if you think about it, you're not even talking to them. They're saying, like, while you were walking, you overheard it, And so you're like, well, I'll go check on them.
No, one
what
dude
do I
was
got
just
go-
like patrolling the security on the wall this place I was at, and he was like actually looked and stared at me while I was walking past him and just started fucking flapping his yapper about some shit that I should investigate some fucking family in town. And I'm like,
But, like,
I'm
dude,
trying to
you
figure
don't
out how to
even-
get out of here. You just want to tell me how to get out of here, and I'll be gone. I don't
Also-
know who this is.
Yeah, you're a guard. You don't know me.
Yeah.
Like, I could go just murder this whole family.
a
What are you
serial killer.
doing?
Yeah, which
You
by the
know, that's
way,
smart.
I'm sure like you that is totally
That's
like I'm sure
possible.
that is an option. Like you totally could solve it that way.
Sure.
So can I?
That being
let me ask you a
said-
question though, both of you. Is it actually two questions here? One, is it a scope problem? Like, could this have been fixed if instead of all of these different planets, if it was, hey,
Give me a solar system.
well, so hear me out before you say no, right? Say it was just a couple of small systems where all of the planets were much more explorable, but you had other stuff in space to pull you to. Like maybe you had some random asteroids with points. Maybe you had a exploded ship of debris. Maybe you had a
space
black
station.
hole. Like, and you didn't know the black hole was there. You could just like randomly stumble upon it. Like, would it have been better with many fewer planets that were more thought out and other stuff to accidentally run into in space as you went between them?
Okay. Yes. If you had the ability to, if every single planet was like completely sort of lived in and or like had things off in the distance that you could run and go do, and then you left. And here's the other thing. At least Preston, correct me if I'm wrong. If you tried this, I don't think you can go in and out of orbit on planets like on it like sort of how like you do with No Man's Sky. You have to load into them.
A lot of peers did a stream to where she just like aimed at Pluto and flew to it. It took her like an insane amount of hours to get there, but she just phased through the planet. Like they don't expect you to actually like go to like a planet that way. Like you will just phase right through the
Yeah, you have
asset
to-
that is the planet.
You have to target it and then press the land button,
Choose
and then
the way
it will
yeah.
load you into a spot.
You look
Yeah.
at the thing and it says open up your world map, and the world map pops up to where it shows like the actual planet, and then you can choose
Yeah.
one of the three places that are marked on there as locations, like essentially docking bays that you can
Yeah.
go and land your ship at and go ahead and go about your business and do whatever
So-
objectives you have there or pick up some.
That to me is also anti like exploration.
Yeah,
right?
well,
Like
the whole thing about space to me, like when I want to play a space game, like I want to be able to fly around in space. I want to be able to maybe like dart around a little bit on a speeder somewhere, like or a land speeder or something like that on a planet. Like that's, don't get me wrong, like this is the things I'm expecting from a game that never said they would give that to me. So I'm okay with it. I'm not upset about this game.
Yeah, not at all.
Like I love the aesthetic. I think they do really well with that, but it's just nothing is pulling me into care. And like you were like saying like, oh, like Neon I hear is really cool. I'm like, yeah, because like I started off, my character was supposed to be like a bounty hunter. Obviously you start off in a mining thing, so I'm not a bounty hunter anymore. But it'd be really cool like just to like say, fuck this main story, I'm gonna go do bounty hunting stuff. But I was never really pushed towards that. So I can't really do that. So I'm assuming Neon is where all like the shady shit happens, so I'm sure that's where I need to go to. But also Chris is like, well, maybe that's like the one thing that get me to come back in. I'm like, at that point, I'd rather try playing Cyberpunk now.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it's like that. If I want to have that neon futuristic city, like crazy shit going on, I'd rather just play Cyberpunk now. Because guess what? I hear they fucking made Cyberpunk
Yeah.
really good now. So
2.0, they say it's so big. Redo your
they have
playthrough.
changed the way modifications and leveling up and
So-
all that kind of shit work. Yeah, exactly.
So let me
that's the
ask
whole
you.
thing.
Let me ask you the second question then. Was there foreshadowing to this, and should we have known? Because if you listen to some of the interviews and the press releases as they came out, so many people said, I love, like, and I'm talking like people from Bethesda said, like, I love this game. I've put 60, 70 hours into it. The game doesn't even start until, some people said it doesn't even start until you're 20 hours in. Other people said it could be over 120 hours because I find myself not even doing the main story. There's so much side stuff to do. Like, do we think that was actually some foreshadowing of just saying, like, hey, maybe this main story isn't that good? And we should have read into that a little bit.
So I think yes and no. I mean, I think the problem is
That is
that,
the Bethesda
again,
game.
I don't think Bethesda has ever made a compelling
that's just
main
what they do.
narrative. Like,
with the sci-fi template slapped on top.
and it's never, and I don't, and again, I don't mean that as a negative thing.
No.
I just don't think it's ever supposed to be. Like, if you think about all their games, the things that you remember most from them, like even in Oblivion, like I don't really give, like I did not care about the end. I only cared about the coolest thing that happened in the main scenario was the Oblivion gates, and those were technically side activities that you could do after you did the first one. Like, going through and seeing going to that realm and then being able to go through the Oblivion Tower and close the gate and run out and have it shut and do the whole thing, right? It was way better. Same thing with Fallout, same thing with Skyrim, all of it, right? So I don't think they've ever been able to do that. The other thing is I don't know that there's a way to... There isn't a way to foreshadow how this game will hit for you as far as your enjoyment goes, because it can be different for everybody. Like, I know there's plenty of people that we know that are like friends of ours that absolutely are head over heels for this game.
I think you're a big Bethesda fan and you love those games. Like, you're one that goes back to Skyrim over and over again. Like, I just started a new character in Skyrim. This is like my 7th character. Like, you will, if as long as you like sci-fi, like that kind of aspect and that kind of vibe, like you will love this game. That will be this is your next one of those. Like, it's they do it well still. Like, it's still that good Bethesda game. It's just is that what you're up for? Is that what you want to do? It's kind of up to you on that point. Like me, unfortunately, no, not right now.
So the thing is like I would still be on board for it. I just think it's missing the thing that drives people, like, or drives me anyway. Like, I would be much actually, to your point, Alex. I think if it was scoped down, and everything in that area, like if it was like maybe 2-3 systems, or whatever, but it was just like everything, like there was so much shit packed around. I was just like, as I'm running around, I'm just getting hit left and right with what's that over there? I want to go see that, or what's going on over here. I, fly out and I'm like, there's this giant derelict ship and I'm going to go check this out, or what's going on here, right? Like that is the stuff that I think Bethesda typically does very well, and I think it's just missing in this game. And again,
or we haven't ran into it.
Once you actually find the side stuff, it's very enjoyable. Like there was some side quests that I did that I thought were absolutely hilarious. I ran into like something that was doing like a Magic School Bus reference, but it was in space where this teacher was like trying to shuttle these kids around and their ship was busted up or something like that. I ran into this one dude who's like this. It's like a group of like space farmers that are like on these different planets all in this system, and they have this satellite array that's shooting between all 4 planets, and one guy ended up fucking somebody over, so they cut out all the satellites, but then pirates came and it was this invasion, so then I helped them out, reconnected everybody, and it was all fun stuff. Like, it's all good. Like, once you get there, it's good. I became Batman. I got the like space equivalent of Batman as a quest that you can get early on, and doing that whole quest line is super fun. Like, absolutely. But it's the actual getting to that point that I think they missed the mark on this one. And so for me, and so that's why I was like, I'm gonna move on, because it's just not, I wasn't feeling compelled to continue to explore. So then I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, okay, I could just go through the main story and then do whatever pops up and then be done. But then it's like, I'm just consuming it to consume it at that point. And that's not, like, I like playing games. Like, I want to enjoy my fucking time. So, like, if I'm just, like, bored being like, yeah, these middle parts suck, but as soon as I get to something, I'm going to have fun. It's like, whatever, dude. Like, I don't need to do all that. So,
I don't know that we're ever gonna. Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever gonna go backward when it comes to scope on some things. I think some things like Final Fantasy recently have done that. They've actually 16 went backward in the size and scope of a game and made a really tight, amazing story they wanted to tell. Unfortunately, when it comes to some of these exploration games, we're not going to go backward because it's about what can you put in it. But in my opinion, I know this game takes place after Earth is essentially like destroyed. Like, we have just ruined it, right?
Yeah. It's like a dust bowl at that point.
Even if you started this game in the same solar system, and you had a few more planets more fleshed out, showing that like Earth is destroyed, but we have, as a human body, like extended to other planets out, and then from there you made it to the end of our solar system, and for story, reasons, you then jump to another planetary system where you had 7 or 8 really fleshed out planets, then maybe one more, and eventually jump to, say, the center of the Milky Way galaxy, where you have like you have Sagittarius, which is like a huge black hole. Like, having a tighter, more fleshed out story will always be more enjoyable because you can actually like give players something to strive to, and as Christian, it's something you talk about all the time. You make your time valuable. But with these larger scopes, like, it's just look how much crap we can throw in there, and nothing ever feels fully worth it.
And one thing that I'm like a big fan of is, and I know we've talked about this many times before, but like show don't tell, right? Like, don't just tell me, like, show me, like, lead me to it so that I can discover it on my own, right? So like, and again, I think that that's something that Bethesda typically does extremely well. Like, they're, especially in their fantasy game, like it is fucking hard pressed to do a full 360 when you are in one of those games and be like, I want to go see what that's about, like whatever that looks like, right? And this game just doesn't have that, at least for me, right? So there's people who that works for, right? Like if you're just running around and then you overhear some schmuck be like, "Go, dude! Did you hear what's happening on Epsilon 456? It's crazy!" And then it's like
The brownouts. Like, oh god.
note taken. Go check out Epsilon 456. And then you're
But
like,
does
I guess I'll go
everybody
do that?
does everybody do that? Because if not, now you have that issue of who do I listen to and who do I
Everybody
not
is talking. Everybody's
Right.
talking, but not all of them matter, so you won't know. Like, for instance, there was one conversation, it's 3 people, and they're having this very heated argument, and I was positive. I was like, there's no way this is not going to lead to something. Because every single time I try to talk to these 3 people, it keeps saying this person's busy, this person's busy, this person's busy. So I'm like, okay, clearly something's happening here. And after that whole entire conversation, all 3 of them looked at me and goes, "Can we help you?" And you're like, what was the argument about? They don't even give you that's me wondering that. They don't even give you an option. When you go to talk to them, they're like, "I'm busy." And then they walk away from you. And you're like, "Okay, I guess, but why have this argument at all here? Like, whatever, I suppose. I guess I'll just fuck off." And then you go do something else. But then the next argument you run into, you might get a journal update immediately from it saying, you need to go do X, Y, or Z or whatever, right? So I don't know. It's just missing that piece for me, and it's crazy. It's what I want out of space games is not like that. Like, so to your point, right? No Man's Sky, which is a game that is of equal scope, if not larger. Now, again, you have to be careful when comparing No Man's Sky because it's been iterated on thousands and thousands and thousands of times.
And it's procedurally generated, right? So you can infinitely...
Well, no, it's procedurally generated once, but then everybody is in that world. So like when Hello Games pressed the start button, it was procedurally generated, and then that's the world that everybody got. Does that make sense? So like,
okay,
They made, but procedurally.
Yeah,
but
they did it.
Right. But how many are there? Aren't there, like, didn't they do that for tons and tons and tons of planets because it was able to just say, like, hey, hit the button, this is how many I want, and then each one of those was just procedurally generated, so you're not having
So they created, it's somebody did the math. It's like when they did it, it was like, I don't know, it's like 6 quintillion planets or something like that. You'll never see them all. But
right.
My point though is that even in its base form, before No Man's Sky got a lot of the love that it did, it still did this better than Starfield, in my opinion, is that when the game started, it told you need to go. You don't know why, you don't know, but you found a thing that says go to the center of the universe. Mm-hmm. That's it. And so, that's my goal. I know I need to be heading there always. But then on your way there, you're seeing things that are happening, right? So like if I warp into a new system and then all of a sudden and Preston and I have seen this a million times, as soon as you warp in, boop, 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 like a frigate and like a billion ships show up and you're like, what the fuck? And then like you go check that out and then it's whatever it ends up being, right? Or then you warp into another system and then there's just this fucking orb and this red fucking like thing in the middle of it and you're like, what the hell is that thing? And then you go and fly up to it, and then it's telling you, like, it ends up tying into the overall narrative, and you have to, figure out its little piece and that stuff, right? So, but even that, but that's my thing, is like that. If your game is about exploration, then you need to put somebody on a trail to be able to explore and not give them a text list of things to go do. And then when they go do that, sometimes something happens and sometimes something not. But again, it's not your choice. Those things happen to you whether you wanted to or not. So like when I warp into a system, and because one of the quests is like that I'll use as an example here. Well, I say it's early on, but I don't actually know. There's a chance that you might not see it, but it's a quest where you warp into a system and there's this giant old ship, like just like huge, and it's just sitting there floating there. And then the planet reaches out to you and is like, hey, if anybody can hear this, come down here. It's concerning the large ship. Come talk to us. Please, we could use your help. So you're like, okay. So then you go down to the ship, or you go down to the thing, talk to them. They say, hey, we don't know. It just showed up. It's freaking people out. Can you try talking to them? So you can go and do it. Now, again, though, hold on, I'm sorry. I was fidgeting and I dropped the thing. So but when you get into that system, my biggest problem with that is I didn't have the option as the player to see that and go like, I wonder what's going on over there. Like maybe I'll go try the ship. And then if they didn't answer, right, or if I couldn't get anybody to answer, I couldn't dock to it, whatever. And it's like, I guess I'll go check out this planet and see, maybe somebody will tell me something about it, right? Instead, it was like, hey, this is a thing. Like as soon as you get in, this is a thing. So don't like go do this or not. You can ignore it, but then it will always permanently be in your log as a thing that you can come back to and go do. And again, it's show don't tell. Like I don't need you to tell me to go do things. I should be incentivized to go find these things by the thing that you've created. So I'm like really long-winded.
I mean,
we know about this.
We know hand holding it's becoming more and more of a problem in all games in general, right? Like that's why it's refreshing when you get those games that aren't. But yeah.
But yeah, so that's really my thing. I dropped it because I was like, I don't want to do it. Like it's not enjoyable. So moved on from that. Still playing Baldur's Gate 3, and then I started the Crisis Core remake.
Saw that.
Yeah.
How is it?
So it's a PSP game. It's still the game. Like it's not. And I don't mean that in a negative way because I am a Crisis Core defender. I love Crisis Core. Love me some Crisis Core. It's still good.
Did you do the bundle?
No.
Okay.
I already owned. Oh, I already owned the other one.
I know.
You're talking about for 7R.
Yeah, but for 7R, if you pre-order the new one, like whatever they're calling the new
Rebirth.
Yeah, if you pre-order Rebirth, they were doing like a $25 game that yes, you would get 7R, but it also was all of that DLC and that integrate mission, plus it was Crisis Core and it was the other one.
No, Crisis Core was on sale for like $30 the other day, and so I got it. This was like the last Steam sale. I think the summer sale or something like that. Yeah, I snagged it then. But yeah, no, I just bought Crisis Core. But because I don't even know that bundle existed then. But yeah.
They just announced it the other day with the announcement of Rebirth.
Got it. Yeah, no. So, but yeah, I've been playing the Crisis Core remake. It's good. I know that the remake is getting a lot of new eyes on it because of 7 remake. So I don't want to spoil anything because it's a lot of people who are experiencing it for the first time. It's not my first time experiencing it though, so it's not like how
are they going to balance? How are they going to balance this game that you know and you love that you've played? How are they going to balance keeping that the same?
What do you mean?
So like, how are they going to balance keeping Crisis Core the same but redoing 7?
Okay, so Crisis Core happens before any of the events of 7. So right. 7 or Crisis Core is
Zack, right?
Zack's journey through Soldier.
Right.
So this is like the game starts and I don't even know if Cloud has left to join the army yet. If he did, he like just did. But
but
yeah.
Sephiroth.
Sephiroth is a good guy in this one.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, but Sephiroth in 7 is different. In 7 Remake, I'm sorry, is different than OG7. So I'm just wondering how they're going to balance keeping one game completely the same and then redoing.
Without getting into the Kingdom Heartsness of it all, there's 2 Sephiroths in 7R. There's the one that got pulled into the timeline shit, and then there's just regular mean old Sephiroth, right? So he, like, that part remains unchanged. And then also, you remember, there's Cloud's timeline now, and then there's fuck, press and bleep that out. But because that's a big spoiler for Crisis Core. But yeah, so,
I mean, but shouldn't you know that?
No, because if you haven't,
if you've seen the trailer for 7R, because you see him in the trailer.
Yeah, so then you don't know what's coming in the end of Crisis Core.
But that happens before, you said.
There's 2 timelines now. One, where I'm not getting into this, and I think you're being obtuse to be obtuse.
I'm really not. I'm just saying.
It's a late day for Alex.
I hate that they are adding this whole like second timeline multiverse into this game.
Put like 2.
Talk about Mortal Kombat.
Put like 2 minutes on the clock. Alex, the difference is that because Crisis Core is the thing that spawned these 2 timelines, right? So at the end of Crisis Core, Zack protects Cloud by putting him behind a rock, and then those Shinra soldiers shoot Zack like 180 times, just like riddle him with bullets, and he kills them all after, like, while he's being shot up and does all these things. He's dying, and then that's when Cloud comes to, and the trauma of seeing all of that makes it so that he takes his dumb, stupid vegetable brain that got experimented on by Hojo and instead goes, I'm just Zack. I'm just going to replace everything I ever knew with Zack. And I don't have to worry about, I didn't lose anybody because nobody ever existed. The 7R thing is saying the one timeline where that happens is real, but then there's also this separate timeline where Zack did not die and he killed all those Shinra troops without being riddled with bullets, and then carried Cloud on his back to Midgar, and is trying to take him to his girlfriend Aerith, who's going to heal him. That's it.
You're explaining some, yeah.
I know it's infuriating because it's like it's so. I know people don't want to admit it, and I've even softened up on it a little bit, but it is like this close to Kingdom Hearts bullshit, and it's like, we'll see how they handle it, especially because they got a new director for this new one, which actually gives me hope. So Nomura is no longer the game director. He's still creative director, but that's basically like hey, we call him once a month to update him on what we're doing. But they have a new director for this new one, so good on you. I'm glad that somebody else has taken the reins from that crazy man. But
do you think, did they do that just because this is supposed to be more than 2, yeah? 3 total?
There's going to be 3 games.
So do you think they did that so they could start working on 3 along with 2 simultaneously, just to shorten that production time?
No, because they already said that this was in development with this new director since when the day that Remake got its release date announcement. So the release date announcement trailer was when 2 officially started production. So like 4 years ago or something like that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, because it's been so long, do you think they also went ahead and got a different director for 3 so they could do them bang, bang, bang simultaneously?
Because the assumption is that 3 is following the same cadence, where 3 probably started pre-production 3 days ago when 2 is when they announce the date, if it's going to follow that same cadence. So, but then it'll go, and then as soon as this game, because for the most part, like Hamaguchi, the new director, is probably able to now do his director roles on 3 a lot more often than he has to on 2, because 2 now once you have a release date, the game's mostly done. Like a lot of this is still polish and things being worked on. It's not all the way done, right? Like I'm sure if it would have released today, it would be in a state for sure. But it's coming out in February. Like for the most part, the game has been playable front to end for a little while now. So it's going to be like they just need to clean up a lot of it, or playable in some form or fashion, I should say. But yeah, so
I think the fighting is going to be fun, like the last one was. I am excited about some of the stuff into they're bringing to life. There's one little look between Sephiroth and Cloud in that trailer that makes me question what's going on. But I have zero faith by the end of 3 they will nail this landing.
So as much as I know what that scene is from, and it's actually part of the original game. It's the flashback to the Nibelheim where Cloud and Sephiroth are still working together, and Zack, depending on whatever happens there. But because they all go on a mission together before Sephiroth loses his mind. So almost assuredly that's what that scene is from, is when, because you actually do, in original 7, you do get to play with Sephiroth. You don't get to do anything, but he is like an AI-controlled party member that you are fighting with, right, in that flashback. So it does happen. So I'm positive that's what that scene is. But it's just so funny that at the end of Remake, when Sephiroth is basically licking the inside of Cloud's ear, and then they show this trailer, and it's like Sephiroth is like looking longingly at Cloud
they're like
while
floating in the sky.
They're doing like the double move, and they're about to like both swing. But honestly, two looks like it's going to do some real fuckery with the order of stuff. So they're technically ending it at the end of Disc 1, which everybody knows what happens at the end of Disc 1 for original Final Fantasy VII. But in that trailer, like the ruby weapon or emerald weapon, like the weapons show up and some other stuff, and that's like not till way later and all sorts. So I think that I don't know. I think
some of that is going to be foreshadowing. I think they're going to be Sephiroth is going to be able to show Cloud, hey, for real, if you don't work with me, this is what's going to happen, right? Trying to get that extra convincing piece that he wasn't able to get the end last one. Say seriously, like this was going to happen. I think it'll be some foreshadowing. I don't think you're actually gonna, like engage in some of that.
They've said that not specifically about the weapons, but they said that they're going to move a lot of stuff around. Specifically, what I think is going to happen is, so like there's the end of Disc 1, right, where the thing happens, and then
which is not going to happen this time around.
When you start in 2, or on Disc 2, it is. Then you're at the snow area, and Cloud is going snowboarding with all of his friends and all this. And it's actually, if you think on it, it's kind of weird how that. There's a story justification, like they are like they go but it is kind of weird.
They're throwing snowballs. It's the Witcher throwing snowballs thing.
Yeah, it's a little weird that like that thing happens, and then Cloud's like, oh, let's shred it up, and then they go and snowboard, and they're like, we're trying to get the high score on this mountain. Like it's like really weird when you're just like, didn't somebody just get no? Okay, I guess we'll deal with that later. And then you go and you do your thing and you're fine, right? I guarantee, me personally, I bet you they pull the snow moment forward. So everybody now, and we'll only know this like if a trailer comes out and they're like, you see Cloud on a snowboard or something, then you'll know that I'm right. But if they move that back and allow that whole thing to happen, and then you get to the Disc 1 moment, and then who knows, right? Because especially with the 2 timelines thing, who the fuck knows what's going to happen there? So who knows? But
does that hit
us? See what they do.
I know we briefly said this, and we don't have to hang on it long. I think they're going to change that for a couple of reasons. But one, I think it won't hit as hard if the people that played it know it's coming, right? Like, do you think those people will want to see it again in modern graphics and redone today? Or do you think it'll be lackluster? Either way, I think it's going to be different. I don't think it's going to happen the same.
I think it'll be a couple different things. One, because the trailer definitely looked like Meteor was getting summoned, right? Which is Sephiroth's ultimate goal. He wants to summon Meteor to have it smash into the planet. I bet my current prediction is that that character might still die, but not in the way that everybody is accustomed to. It'll be, I had to sacrifice my essence to stop Meteor from coming down, right? Or something like that, right? Like, that's what I think they'll probably end up trying to do, maybe. But also, you can't ignore the fact that there's that separate timeline. I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. Like, maybe Zach is the one who gets, like, I don't know, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. So, who knows? At this point, I'm kind of just, like I said, I've kind of softened up on it a little bit, and I'm just like, I'm ready to see where this is going to go. I want to know. Not that I want to know, I have to know. So, whatever brain rot I have that's going to make me do this is, I'm going to check it out. But, yeah, I don't know. Either way, so I started with Crisis Core because Crisis Core has remained untouched, and it is still its thing. And so, it's great. It's been great revisiting it, and Zach is every bit of the goofy dumbass that you want him to be, and it's fantastic. He does like the little, like, there's the scene right in the beginning, but it's not a spoiler. It's the intro scene of the game. But he's coming in on the train, and he's doing what you find out later is a little training exercise. But he's going into the train in Midgard, so at first it looks like, oh god, it's like the opening scene from 7, right? Except all of a sudden, all these Wu-Tai soldiers who are dressed up in Shinra clothes are like, they fly in and they're like, they get on the thing and they're like, don't worry, Zach, those aren't actual Shinra soldiers, they're Wu-Tai soldiers, so you can let loose. And he's like, all right. And then he like goes to run, and as they start running, he's running. They're like shooting and they're missing or whatever, and then one helicopter comes out of nowhere and starts shooting at him like right in front of his feet, and he ends up doing like the old like Tom and Jerry like dancing around the bullets, and he's like ooh, and then like does it, and you're just like, this is fun. Like, this character is just goofy, and he's meant to be goofy, and so you just have a good time. It's fun. Yeah, that's it though. That's it. That's all I know.
All right.
Fun. I guess I'll go really fast. I played Baldur's Gate. Still good. I'm getting close to the end of Act 2. So I feel like I've plowed through it, but maybe not. I don't know. I've only played for a few days, but I was talking to Christian about where I was earlier, so I think I'm pretty close to the end. I think I have one stretch here to wrap things up.
You'd be surprised how much there's left.
I'm sure.
But yeah, when you start that, it is absolutely the back half.
Yeah. And then I hear 3 is shorter than 2.
Not in my experience. But
no? Okay. Well, there you go.
It also takes longer because you're running at half the fucking FPS, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been doing that anytime I go to the Last Light Inn, so it's fine.
Oh, really quick about Baldur's Gate. Preston, this is another reminder for whatever D&D sessions you coming up. Shoving still works on bosses that are kicking your ass. Yeah.
Yeah, I for the second time also went with my tried and true method of I had a big fight with a horde of enemies it had a counter, so like you have to just survive and protect this thing behind you until the counter runs out.
Yep.
First time they wiped me, I wasn't prepared. Second time, stacked up barrels too high so they couldn't jump it, and then stood on top and said, hey, come at me. And then like with the archers, I just shrouded it in darkness and said, yeah, you can't shoot it, so what you guys gonna do now? So they all just ran into my boxes, and I just lit them all on fire with a wall of fire. So stacking stuff in front of other things also still works. So there you go.
Actually, since you guys are familiar with D&D stuff, I do have I accidentally became an Oathbreaker paladin the other day.
Oh.
You killed somebody, huh?
No, I let people live. But because I chose Oath of the Ancients, where it's like the nature one, because I let something live that is, I guess,
destined to die,
not natural, is the easiest way to say it without spoiling what I did. Not a natural
feeling that should have been squashed.
Right. And I was like, my brain, I was like, nah, man, like, this person deserves to live. It's not their fault that they were cast into this thing. Like, they didn't choose this. And so then I do it. I save all these goddamn people. And I'm like, sick. I did it. And then my character's like, ugh, something is leaving me, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then it's like this fucking sick ass Dark Knight is like, whoa, Mr. Oathbreaker, blah, 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 come talk to me in your camp, like you're one of us now. And I was like, what the fuck? And so then I get in there, and they're like, what caused you to break your oath? And I was like, my conscience, I guess. Like, that was an option. I was like, I didn't know, but I figured this was okay. And he's like, they're like, yeah, it happens to the best of us, blah, blah. Anyway, here's all your new Oathbreaker powers, because Oathbreakers get, like, specific, like Dark Knight shit. So I was like, oh, dude, this is... Okay, I'll just play into this. I'm down. Then I found out that because of that, I lose speak to animals because I'm not a nature paladin anymore. So I was like, all right, fuck this. So then I went back to the guy. This is the only thing that makes me mad about this is I wish I don't know how this is my question to you guys, because you guys would know more than I would, but I think that it should be way harder for me to get my original oath back in these kind of games. All I had to do was walk up to the Oathbreaker and pay him 1,000 gold, and then I got my oath back.
That's different in D&D. It's up to the DM. To be fair, it's completely up to the DM, but it can be very different in D&D.
I feel like they should have. There's the rigmarole you have to go to cleanse one of your other characters in the story. Should be what you have to go through to cleanse yourself as an Oathbreaker.
Well, because he says, like, he tells me, he's like, I even have a dialogue line that I can say that's like, that seems pretty low. Like, is it, this feels like that's kind of cheating to, like, just buy my way out of it. And he was like, the original Oathbreaker, the price that was put on my head was 1,000 gold, so that's what every paladin has to pay, like, as a thing or whatever. I'm like, okay, I guess, but, like...
It's a fine.
Whatever.
You paid for it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then I did it, and then, boom, it was like, it came right back, and I was like, okay, I can talk to animals again, sweet, woo! And I just left, and I was like, done. But yeah, so that's, I guess I was just asking, because I know you guys are a little bit familiar with D&D than I am, that if it's like, if that's a thing.
No, I am.
Honestly,
Keep in mind.
And you don't have a person
Keep
in
in mind.
camp sitting around waiting.
Yeah, say Preston is... you and I, it's our first campaigns.
But you at least read a lot of the extra stuff around D&D, so I didn't know if you had ever heard of something similar. I literally have outside of Baldur's Gate games, that is my only knowledge with any of that stuff.
Well, the books that I read are just novel versions of these games. You know what I mean? Like the Gris series and other stuff. It's not. I haven't read.
But then Preston, you're saying it's totally up to the DM.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask Jake how he would do it in his DM session, because like that's the whole thing. Is you don't have a camp that you're going back to that just going to have some dude hanging out, but like you can pay me 1,000, get back your shit whenever you want. Like that's unless Jake puts that in your camp and we have a camp settled somewhere, like it's not gonna happen.
I didn't know if like in the rule book or something like that, there's like rules for how a paladin would have to get their oath back.
There might be. I haven't been in a campaign that had a paladin break their oath.
Got it.
Or at least a DM that would be that strict as far as like, well, you did one thing that's kind of against your oath, so therefore you lost it all. It all depends on the DM.
Yeah.
Cool.
I continue to enjoy this game, and the thing I love about it most is like I feel like I finally have the freedom to be pretty non-violent. Like I am pretty non-violent in most games. Like you guys know me, I play that pretty like Paragon
charismatic also as
line.
well.
Yeah, and I do the Paragon
things.
No, I don't believe that. I've actually in games I know you usually are just like shooting them up.
That is not true. That is mine.
Yeah, you shoot Preston.
Oh, yeah, well, that was an accident, and also it might have just been getting him back for letting me get bit by an undead. But
different game.
I know, but like Mass Effect and a lot of games that have that good evil system, I am very good all the time, and this game does two things. It either lets me solve a lot of issues that way, or it allows me to play into the whole like I'm gonna lie and say I'm gonna help the bad guy, and then like still do the right thing at the end, which is really cool. Like I enjoy the freedom with my character who has a very high charisma. I enjoy the freedom that I have to just kind of manipulate my way out of situations. It's, as somebody that hasn't played the other games by Larian, I like Divinity. I really enjoy the freedom I have in this one. So,
yeah.
Bought in. Fingers crossed. I still want to try and beat it by the end of this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to quite get there, but
you're busy boy.
I'm not busy boy. Not busy too far boy. Though. So anyway, that's my week. I played one other game, but that's the game we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah. I've played a handful of games, so I'm going to try to be as quick as possible. We already talked about Starfield. I also shelved that. Not a horrible game, just not something I feel like playing right now. By the time this comes out, I will have beaten Jedi Outcast. We're doing this episode a little bit earlier than I thought we might have, so I said we're going to beat it by the time we get through here. It's the next episode. This episode was done before the next Star Wars Wednesdays, so we will have beaten it. If you can hear this, I don't know. You would have to look it up. I'll put it on Instagram if this is true. If we can have multiple people in a pod race match, I'm going to put it out, the feeler out there that anyone who wants to download Pod Racer on Steam, you can play with us. Now, let me check that out. Don't be buying Pod Racer and get pissed off at me because you can't play with me. I'm going to try to figure that out on my own time. If it is, I'll put the feeler out on the Instagram.
You should buy Pod Racer anyway because it's a great game.
It is a great game. And it's probably not super duper expensive. This is an older game. But that'll be the next Star Wars Wednesday.
No, go ahead, Alex. What was the hater thing that you were going to say?
What was that?
I was just gonna
It's
say,
like
or
a
you
trash opinion?
No, I was gonna say, or you can just not pay for it and have it on your Steam Deck, but it's whatever.
No. Support pod racing.
You should always support Pod Racing.
Always.
Unless you already own it, then you can do whatever you want.
True.
Other than that, I beat Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. That game is a phenomenal game. We've talked about it over and over and over again. It nailed the fucking landing. That final boss is very fun. It's very crazy and wacky, and the songs that they put into that are phenomenal. And then it bops you out, and now you are just have the world to roam to get your other points up if you wanted to. If you want to dive back into that world, you can. I'm hoping that whoever made that multiplayer mod expands upon it later on. We talked about that as well. And I will be 100% down to get back into that. But it's amazing game. If you have any type of love for that old school Jet Set Radio type of flair, this gives you what you want out of that game times 1,000. Like it's that game. It does it well. Fucking they did it. Did it very well. Thank you, Team Reptile. 1 second.
God bless you.
I'm gonna try to talk over it. Hopefully it doesn't come out through the recording because there's someone's car alarm going off. Other than that, Christian joined us in on this one, but played a handful of TMNT. It's the Turtles game, Shredder's Revenge, Dimensional Shell Shock. It's a fun, like, little run-based thing. We got through it. We actually got to the final Super Shredder, Super Crystal Gem Shredder, whatever the fuck he is, Dimensional Shredder, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
We got through to that, and that game is fun. That game's a lot of fun. It's really, really good beat-em-up game. If you enjoyed Turtles Shredder's Revenge and you want a little extra something different to play with and you want maybe some new characters to play with, it's not a bad drop down for DLC. I think it cost me like $7 or something like that. It's like less than $10 for this DLC. So it's not a huge giant piece of story, but it's a little bit of story, a little bit of new levels and stuff like that, new characters. It's a lot of fun. Totally worth it. And then I played a bit, not a whole lot, of F-Zero 99. I did download and play that game. It's fun. It's actually really fun, really well-polished game. It has you do AI bots for a little bit, like you're playing F-Zero 25, it says. And it says you're playing F-Zero 50. And it's like, okay, well, now go into F-Zero 99. And then you're playing against actual people. And that can be a fun, chaotic race with all those 99 people. Because if, like, you're playing it, you got 99 people, it doesn't start everyone out like in the race like it normally would be. There's like a landing strip that's super fucking long. Everybody's lined up, and it's just you're going fast. There's some boosters or some things that can make you go a little bit slower. And there's a ramp at the very end. So like 10, 15 seconds into it, you're ramping off into the actual race track itself. And then that kind of helps thin out the herd as far as like not everyone's starting. Everyone starts at the same spot, but then it thins out the herd as to where you're going to be at when the actual race starts. So that's pretty cool. Also, like when you're bumping into people, you're dropping these little power-ups for your super meter. That helps you get to that top little like Star Road section on top of there. So if you're not doing too great, just hold back a little bit, and then you can see those guys fighting up front, and you just come num 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 num, get all your little yellow orbs, and then you can get your super meter pop up, and then you and maybe a couple other people are up there at top of there, kind of facing around. But I've been nailing around the 50-ish mark as far as my final like ranking or whatever. My place. And then they do what's called a Grand Prix. So when you win one of those races, or like you get experience, depending on how much experience you get, you can get tickets. And the tickets can get you into the Grand Prix. So you need 3 tickets to get into the Grand Prix. Grand Prix are timed as far as when they happen. So if I look at mine now, I probably like, hey, 11 o'clock tonight, we're doing a Grand Prix, which is 5 races in a row. Save up your tickets, and then you can join at this time. You have to join in at that time with everybody else, and we can do a Grand Prix. And then you go in there and you go do multiple races and go through that way, get multiple levels. But it's a lot of fun. You jump in there, you pick your car, you can customize your car, and it has a nice little loading screen of like when you're waiting for people to jump in, it shows their cars coming in the line and ticking through and shows a number going up. It's a lot of fun. It's not a bad game, and people are playing
If
it.
if this were a standalone, what would you have paid for this game? Standalone.
Hold on, before you answer that, Preston. Can I just, this entire time I've been trying not to laugh because the second you said the words F-099, Alex's face
Checked
switched
out.
to like no, yeah, kind of, but it was like he was like smiling and listening, and then all of a sudden he just went, like totally like blank face, like not there. And then the only reason he started smirking is because he realized that I was like I saw him. I'm laughing at him doing it. I just was this like complete villain mode as you said the words F-099.
It's all right. Haters gonna hate, but it's a good game. People are playing it, and I hope it shows that Nintendo that we have some love out there for F-Zero and can make some money. But to your question, Alex, what would I pay for it? 15, maybe $20 tops. It's a small game. Like there's not a whole lot of tracks in there, and you're just doing the same thing over and over again. So
I thought you were about to say 50. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought you were about to say
Dude.
50.
I thought it was gonna say a lot more too.
I would be
15.
upset.
I was like, damn,
15,
dude.
$20. Yeah, it's a small little type game. It's a little fun thing. It's not something you're. It's not like your usual Star Fox F-Zero games. It's definitely just that 99 aspect.
Does it have legs? Like, are
It
you
can.
gonna be here? Are you gonna be here in 3 weeks playing this game?
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it. Like it's like my night is, I go to bed. Teddy goes to bed. I go to bed. I pop on Duolingo. I play for about. I do my Duolingo lessons for like 10 minutes or so. If I get a 15-minute booster for XP, I'd play it for that 15 minutes, and I'm done. And then after that, I am now playing like a match or two in F-099 because that's at my bedside too. And then after that, if I feel like it, I'll read a comic or two before I go to bed, just to get away from the screen for like a little hot minute.
You know he's a dabbler. He'll dabble.
He'll
in
dabble, do you,
F-099.
man? Yeah, it's not hard. It's what's there for. It's 99 is there to dabble.
Yeah.
So
Good.
it's good.
I'm glad you like it.
I like it. Hopefully, like I said, Nintendo, we're playing it. She should give us a real one. She should give us a new one. And I had an idea the
No
other
can
day.
do's,
If
Bill,
you
baby
keep
doll.
playing, if you keep playing this, they're only gonna give you more of this.
I know. And I had a real quick thought about F-Zero the other day, and I was like watching some retrospective on YouTube because I needed fucking F-Zero feels. So they're kind of going through some of the old games, and they're going through F-Zero GX, which was the GameCube game. And I was thinking about that. Like, that would be a real funny one or fun one to do if it was easy for all of us to kind of get the GameCube game, but it's a little hard to get the GameCube game. For all of us to kind of try the story mode on that, because to me, that is like if Dark Souls was a racing game. Because you are playing like those, like that race, because like the race is like you're fighting against I fucking forget their names now, but it's like you're fighting against one of the guys, and it's like this race on the cliffside, and you're avoiding all the obstacles and stuff, and you have to do it perfectly. So I'm doing this like 30 plus times. I'm spending an hour on like a 2.5 minute track, just because like I have to do it perfectly. You're trying to figure out the track as you're going along with it. Like, okay, I'm doing really good by this point. Like, oh, we got this new section that has this new bullshit on it. Great. Now I know what to do there. I got to go all the way back and not fuck up the rest of the track again and do it all over again. It's like, to me, it's like, that's probably the closest I've got to actually enjoying a Dark Souls game.
We're gonna, because you just threatened that. I know you didn't like angrily threaten, because you just threatened to make us play that game. We're gonna have to implement some sort of like 2/3 veto rule for these games.
Well, I mean, if no one wants to play a game, we don't have to play a game. Like, I thought about doing Mortal Kombat, and like, if Alex didn't want to play a fighting game, he doesn't have to play a fighting game. The story and those are fun. I think he could do it on easy mode, but it's like, it's something.
Yeah,
you
I know.
can do.
Yeah, he could do it on like instant fatality mode or whatever, and then
Yeah, there's an
he'd be
easy
like,
enough
I don't know
mode
what
to where you don't
everyone's
do it.
complaining about. This final boss super easy.
About right.
I played a lot of Mortal Kombat games up until PlayStation 2. We've talked about that story.
So, just continue on
There's
with
like-
that. I have been playing a lot of Mortal Kombat 1. It's a fun game. It's a really good game. I am like almost done with the story so far. Like I've been putting time into it. Christian saw me get to like chapter 13 last night. I just got to chapter
Yeah, dude, you were
14
cruising.
earlier today. I put time into other games today. Otherwise, I would have had time to beat it, and I would have beaten it by then.
I was gonna
but-
say you probably would have beat it today.
I
yeah.
probably would have beaten it today if I put more time towards it. Yeah, because I really just have that. But I did notice, like chapter 1, 2, 3, blah blah blah. blah they all have like 4 to 5 like sections in there, as far as like subsections to beat the chapter, and then 15 hits, and it's like 15 rather than like 4 or 5 of those subsections. So the last chapter is going to be a long last chapter.
Can I say the only thing that I think is kind of a bummer about Mortal Kombat 1, and it's not. It has nothing to do with the story. The story is like the same wacky stuff that it's always
dumb
been,
Mortal
right?
Kombat story. It's
Yeah.
You're not. It's fun.
But
it's done really well. The voice acting, aside from one person, is really well.
Yeah. I was kind of bummed that they went through this whole trouble of rebooting the entire universe, right, and timeline, and not a single new character is there.
Well, they wanted to bring back all the old ones so you can just see how they started off.
Are they the OG ones?
No,
It's a
some
mix.
OG ones, but
Yeah.
it's a mix. Like there's jobbers from fucking Armageddon
Deadly
in there.
Alliance
There's like
and all sorts of shit.
yeah,
they're
dude.
different.
They make sure to say Deadly Alliance like 4 fucking times.
There's one chapter
while
that's
I
called
watch
Deadly
Preston.
Alliance, and then in the middle of Deadly Alliance, the guy goes Armageddon, and I'm like, okay, you guys are just
Well, this is our Deadly Alliance, and you're like, oh Jesus Christ.
now.
No, but I just mean like this would have been your opportunity to sort of, in my opinion, because the Mortal Kombat roster, as we've
Change it up.
seen,
Sure.
is full of jobbers. Like as much
You
as
need
I
to
was
bring Rain
joking,
back.
you didn't need to bring Rain back. As a matter of fact,
But you need a
there's
water
never
guy.
a reason.
Or water
Yeah, but you
power
don't.
person.
And if you did, maybe make someone else other than Rain.
Make
Like why use Rain? Like maybe do a different one.
Because you're going to upset
Like,
somebody who likes Rain.
as much as I joked about like Kintaro not being in there and all these other jobbers making it in, like there's a really good excuse when you reset the timeline to be like, hey, maybe Kintaro doesn't need to come back, right?
Well,
like
you
maybe
know they're going to do DLC, and DLC's going to have a little bit of story, and they're going to bring all the ones in there that people are bitching and moaning that aren't in this one.
Well,
So
but
Kintaro
that's-
has a good chance.
But that's not my point. The Kintaro was a joke. It was just saying that
Yeah.
all of these jobbers that they've created over the years can probably just like stay away and like let's maybe think of like new interesting stuff. NetherRealm is Mortal Kombat is an old ass franchise by now. Like it's been going since we were kids, and the people that work at NetherRealm have that door has been spinning all like there's people who work at NetherRealm today whose first game that they worked on for NetherRealm was Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah,
right?
that's Ed Boon.
No. He's worked on all of them. I'm saying
No,
a
his
new
first
employee-
game he made was Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I'm talking about employees whose first game they've worked on is this current Mortal Kombat
Oh, sure.
today.
Sorry,
Yeah. And so let's let some new ideas in. Like we can do some new characters. It
But
doesn't
my
need to be
favorite,
the same.
Christian,
Yeah,
But
and your
my
favorite,
favorite-
can come in DLC later, but like you're resetting the timeline. It would have been the perfect excuse. Instead, you spent
But
time
my
filling it up with
favorite, though-
jobbers again. Whatever. You know my point. That's it.
but no, it's been fantastic. I've been loving the story. I can't say I'm surprised because I've loved the past like 3 story story missions, story quests, story mode. I've enjoyed the past 3
Yeah.
story modes in like all the games, and it's really well done, very cinematic, and it's the camera angles, the way it's written, it's all very fucking well. I'm like, why do people even care to have a Mortal Kombat movie? Like they do it so well in the story mode, like so fucking well. You don't need a Mortal Kombat movie. You just
That
fucking
first one's
have
good
it,
though.
yeah. The first one is great, but you don't need it because
Yeah.
they do so well now with the story. But yeah, I've been enjoying it. I haven't found my main yet. My main used to be Katana. I was messing around with her in the lab and just wasn't feeling it. And now that I've been going through the story, I've been playing some other characters, and I've been having a lot more fun with certain other characters. I've played Liu Kang recently. Liu Kang is fucking badass because he's the new god of fire now. So he has this fucking like scorpion-like move to where he does a launch, and it's this fucking fiery dragon that comes out from behind you, grabs him and pulls you, Liu Kang, towards the character. And it's pretty much like a scorpion move kind of deal, but with a dope-ass fire dragon doing it. I'm like, that's
I'll be
fucking
interesting. It'll be interesting to see this next patch that they're working on, because boy, people cough cough Sonic Fox cough cough have found some broken ass shit that is
rad.
like,
Yeah.
bro, if somebody
They're
gets to
using
pull this
frost
off,
to like bounce and juggle the
People from
enemy,
corner to
and then
corner,
you're
and they
getting
can't touch the
firebolts with it on
ground.
top of that, and the motherfucker can't do anything. You
and
can't
it
do
goes
anything.
through block, like
It goes through
oh.
counters can't get to it. Yeah, it's they have
Dude,
some work to do. But it's a lot of fun. It's great.
Yes, but yeah,
It's fun to see what's happening with it and how people are going. Yeah, just the whole community on it has been very fun to see that evolve, because it's a game that's been around, like you said, since the 90s. So it's very cool that still I see it being this fresh as far as like people are still learning these characters. Like you're not going in with the same moveset for all the characters. They changed it up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Other than that, I think that's about it. Snapping. We're always snapping. We're always fucking snapping. Ravonna Renslayer released, and she has been so far a wet fart as far as what her card can do. Because it's not doing what we thought it was going to do, and she's kind of in some decks, kind of not in some decks. And then you got Owen Wilson's character coming in later. Morbius coming in later, and he's just going to fucking destroy that card. So
when you say she's not doing what we thought it would do, what do you mean?
The community. You know, I'm watching some cozy snap videos. You know, I'm watching some Dexter videos. I'm just watching. I'm following what's going on with these pros are thinking and looking at when they're playing this game.
Alec, the streets are talking, all right, and he's got his ear to the streets.
To the streets, dog.
Dude.
That's how it gets real.
What do you think she was gonna do? Like, what was expected?
So the thing was that anyone who has a power of 1 or less has 1 less cost. So that means like Iron Man, he costs 5 to play, but he has 0 power because he doubles up the power in that lane. So he would cost 4 to play. Now, if you're playing someone like Bast, who will give him 3 power, which makes the lane automatically 6, not to mention doubles up everybody else's power in that lane, he doesn't get 1 less cost because now his power is 3. When there's other cards out there who will use the base power to have their ability activate. But for some reason, it's not going off the base power. So it's something they could easily fix. But as of right now, with her being released this week, the release week should be the good week to where they're almost like overpowered. And if they need to, they can tone it down a little bit through the over-the-air updates. But with her, it just seems like they're going to have to give her a buff to make her even like worth the. To be fair, she is a Series 4 card, so she only costs 3,000 tokens. She's not like one of these big bads, so it's not you're not dropping in 6,000 on it and be like, this fucking sucks. You're like 3,000, and she can kind of do something with certain builds. But if you buff any of those guys up over 1, then you're gonna be kind of screwed now. If you're doing ones that have like negative power, stuff like that, you're off to the races. There are a couple of decks out there, but she's also just kind of like a meh card to add into those decks when you could be adding a multitude of other tech cards that would be much better to add into that. And Morbius, aka Owen Wilson, comes out next week, and he is a complete detractor of what her card does, and is going to make her even less of a use.
I'm sorry, Morbius?
Mobius, I'm sorry. Morbius, not Morbius. Morbius is already in there. I already got Morbius.
Yeah, Mobius.
He's sorry, Morbin time, where I'm at. But
Dude, I was like, what?
It's Morbin time somewhere, okay? But yeah, no, it's Mobius. Yes. Oh, wow. He's showing up next week. I really hope they're not going to do it, but they should do a sound effect when you play it. And he goes, oh, wow.
Yeah. I hope his alt card is like
him on a jet ski.
Him on a jet ski.
Yeah. A little ski. Yeah. There's got to be one. There's definitely got to be one.
100%.
100%. Other than that, that's it. That's all I played.
All right, let's do this thing.
Do it.
Take us through it.
All right, so this is the new video game book club game, Gris. Gris. That's
Gris.
That's my Duolingo does it. Gris. Yeah. That is it's the word for gray, but also it's the name of our protagonist. So the girl we play, her name is Gris.
Didn't know that.
Yep. There's a lot of things in here that will be unknown, and that I've heard answers from the developers. I'm going to keep most of those away until the end of the game because I kind of want to see how you guys get this fresh. I'm not going to say, like, oh, this is this, this is that. I'm like, no, just you play the game, and then we'll talk about it at the end when we go to the second half next week.
The only thing I've looked up on this game was how to say that damn name, and I saw it's Gris.
Gris, yes. It's Gris, yeah. It's Gris. Because I said Gris last time, and I was recording, I was like editing it, I'm like, man, do I say Gris? Did I say Gris at all? I'm like, nope, I never say Gris. I'm like, fuck.
I thought it was French, so I thought it was Gris, but then they were like, no, it's Gris.
Yeah, it's totally Spanish.
Yeah, well, I live in America, so I called it Gris.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this was a platform adventure game by Spanish developer Nomada. This is their first game. But it was also published by Devolver Digital.
I saw that as soon as we got on, and I was like, well, this is clearly going to be a good game.
Yep.
because I saw
That's-
Devolver pop up.
We're gonna have one of these days a side quest where we talk about the new big bads in the gaming industry, to where we're gonna talk about who are the actual like good gaming companies out there. I would love to have that conversation. But that's definitely one of them, Devolver. But yeah, it's comprised. The founders are, you have the producer of the game, who's Roger Mendoza. He's from Ubisoft. He has done a couple Assassin's Creed games like Syndicate 3 and Black Flag. And then you also have the programmer / technical director, Adrian Cuevas. And he has done Hitman Season 1, Rainbow Six Siege, and Far Cry 3. And then you also have the art / director, which is Conrad Rosette. So Conrad Rosette is an artist who was hanging out at this going away party for Adrian because he was going off to do Rainbow Six Siege. And they all kind of met, and Conrad had an idea. He's like, I really want to get art into a game. Like, I want to put my art into a game and make a game with my art. And those three teamed up to found Nomada.
And they were like, instead of going to make a game where people just get called the N-word all the time, why don't we do something fun?
Sure, we'll go with that narrative.
Dude, Rainbow Six Siege is literally the most. It is not a joke. It got rated the most toxic. It is.
Oh, I
it's
don't
where that
doubt,
guy.
but
It's where that guy got the speed run to get called the N-word. Like his 0.1 second world record speed run. Yeah. Rainbow Six Siege.
I know.
It's when he logged on there and he's like, "Hi," and somebody just comes up to you and yells it.
Time. Count it. But yeah, it released on Mac OS, Switch, and Windows in December 2018. It was on the iOS in August 2019, PS4 November 2019, Android April 2022, and then Amazon Luna November 2021, and then finally PS5, Xbox One, and Series X and S in December of 2022.
Currently on Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass. Yes.
So I wonder, do you think because those guys started this studio with this artist to make this game, does that? I mean, they had to leave, right? Like you were going to work on a game.
They
with
started
Ubisoft,
their
but,
own
like, you
independent
can't-
studio.
Yeah, you had to leave for the studio,
Sure did.
and they have not made anything else since. Yeah.
So they have a trailer out that happened last day to play. I think the game's called Nueva. I'll show you guys the trailer, but they do have a trailer out for a new game that's supposed to come out, I think, next year. But they have been working on their second game.
Cool.
Metacritic rating has them at 84 on PC, 83 on Switch, 82 on PS4. And I was looking at all the ratings, and all the ratings are usually around 8 to 9 out of 10, right? Except for one company. IGN gave this game a 6.5 out of 10.
Damn,
It's a jump.
dude.
It's a pretty big fucking leap from everybody's 8 and 9s. And
What was the reason?
Either
I would have to dive into it, but yeah. They probably think it's too simple.
Either I was gonna say it hit too close to home for somebody actually going through grief,
right? Yeah.
or it hit
Dead
the complete
soul.
opposite. Somebody that has no heart whatsoever.
Like, this is a super easy game, fucking stupid. All this fucking, like, I don't know who this is. No one says her name. Who knows?
Yup.
I might read that later on tonight as for funs and shits and giggles. But yeah, it sold over 1 million. And composer, Berlinist. They do a couple of games here and there. And they do movies and they do like arts, installation, music for them. But there was a fun little credit I saw they had. Berlinist did the audio branding logo and FX design for Opera GX. So, Christian, when you launch Opera GX and does a home and the logo comes in, all done by them. Nice. So I thought that was a nice little fun kind of thing. Like, what have you guys have done? I'm like, oh, it's a bunch of Spanish films I don't know about. And then I'm like, Opera GX. I'm like, oh, shit. Okay. All right. I know that one. I get that reference. And then there's 2 other designers, and that's everyone who's made the game. So
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, sold over 1 million units, and we can go directly into the game. So you start off, and you see the main protagonist. Very beautiful watercolor look to it. She's singing, and she's on this like little hand platform that's holding her up. All of a sudden,
Well, for me, it seemed like she was like asleep. Like she woke up and she was trying to start to sing to like fix whatever was happening, and then everything started to crumble around her. Like she was like it seemed like she was trying to. I could be totally wrong. I mean, this is just how I experienced it. It just seemed like it was like she was trying to, like it like she was kind of like just like sitting like this, like she was just chilling.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like shit started to crumble, and so she was like, "Oh shit!" So then she started singing, like I'm assuming to like try to fix what was happening, and it was too late, and so it all broke, and then she fell.
I don't think I remember seeing it crumbling, but I could be forgetting that small little piece. But where I saw it was that like the singing in the background, she wakes up, she starts singing too. She loses her voice, and as she loses her voice, she also loses the platform that she's on, which is the hand that crumbles away, and she falls down. You get credits, the few that there are there, as like she's falling, tumbling down, and the color is just gone. The only color you have now is her hair, the little blush on her cheeks, and the black and white.
Yeah.
So yeah, go the voice, hold her up, follow the credits, white location, only colors Gris, and then slowly you walk. The level starts to have a little bit more going on to it, a little bit more detail, and then all of a sudden you start running a little bit, and then you can jump. So you're starting to let things in. The more things are happening, you're kind of getting more control of your protagonist. And then you start seeing crumble pieces of building as you're walking through. And then you find a little glowing orb that you find out later on is like a star, you would say. Because like there's some constellation puzzles that you're going to fix with that, essentially. Once you get the first one, you get the second one, you come across a gap, which you can see that has like 3 connections for like a constellation kind of thing. And it doesn't do anything. So you go and you find the third one in the tower nearby. And then as you go up to that tower was the first like cool, like awe-inspiring thing I found was like you go up the stairs to this like tower, up this like a hill, and this giant fucking, well, I assume it was like a bird because like you see the smaller ones in the background earlier, but this huge giant bird's like flying by, which is really fucking cool, I thought. And that's where you get
a space whale.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking, something like that. Yeah, some weird like space mind whale, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's abstract flying thing flying past you. And it's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Once you get to there, you obviously got the third star, so you get that constellation bridge going. And as you're kind of walking through this area, you start to find what they call as mementos. It's in the trophy when you get them. So these are the little extra pieces. They're not the stars, but they're the little circles that you find, those spots. You hit them and it goes whoom. And
I found the first one. I didn't find the second one in this area, and it pissed me off.
Yeah, I couldn't find the second one in the area, but I'm thinking that you can do some Metroidvania and backtrack.
I found
later.
all but 2 in the second area too, and it was very irritating.
I found all but 1 also in the second area. So I
found
think
all but one in the second area too.
I think you can backtrack with what you get later on. All right, and then once you get past that, you go across that bridge and you get to another of those hands that they saw at the beginning of the game. Once you get to there, she kind of crumbles over and then releases like a red ink into the area, which kind of fills up the area with red.
So, really right quick here.
So that was the first section. Yeah, so let's talk about the first section with the white. I call it the white level, if you will.
Did either of you get an achievement here for like... So... I'm not going to go... So, right when we end, where this playthrough ends, like where we stopped for this time, I tried to press the circle button... or B, if you're playing on Xbox, and it's like she goes to try to sing. If you're standing still and you press that button, she tries to sing, but nothing comes out. I did that at the end, and I got an achievement called Stage 3 Bargaining, and it was like, and that was the first time that I ever noticed, like, oh shit, this is about the stages of grief, like Preston was saying, right? But then I was like, how come I didn't get one for 1 and 2 for the first parts?
The third stage of grief is bargaining, and you were in the third stage.
Right, but
and
why
you're at
wouldn't
the end doing it to a statue?
But okay. But my question was, why didn't I get one for stage 1 and 2 when I was in stage 1 and 2 of the process?
I don't think there's any. I mean, I didn't get the one for bargaining, so I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I don't know that I got that either.
But
but that's
I mean,
like
you get the one for the level. So like once you get the color for red, you do get like you have released red into the world, right?
You do get a thing that's
But
like
so-
hey,
but-
it's
one,
red.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later.
But stage 3 is from bargaining, is it? So like the first one, the white level should be denied.
Oh, sorry, that's stage. No, it is stage 3. Yeah, because you got
Are you
got
sure?
what white. I mean, do we want to go into like what I think what I think the stages are? If you want to go into the levels once we finish them.
Well, I mean,
So
I know the
can tell you-
stages.
Yeah, so
I
I
said
can
I
tell
know
you
what the
white.
stages
White
of grief
is
are, so
so
should be
the white level that you first go into, the one that you're walking through now, the one we just talked about, is going to be denial and isolation.
Right.
So
Right.
that's kind of the first stage.
Yeah,
Second
okay.
one, being the red when we go into it, is anger.
Right.
Right. Which is totally fair. I'm not arguing with this at all.
No,
I'm just saying,
yeah.
I'm just confused as to why I got one. Like, I think it would make more sense to show the player, like, when you finish the first stage, right? Or maybe not even. Maybe when you start. I don't know how you do it. Regardless,
Let them know
maybe when
more
you
about what the
finish it-
game is around.
But maybe say like stage 1 denial, right? And then stage 2 anger, and
Sure.
then because when I got to stage 3 in bargaining, I was like, if Preston had not told me that this was the stages of grief ahead of time, I would have not known until this moment. Like,
And then there are
I'd
people who
still
don't
been
know until the
confused.
very end of the game.
Sure, but that's my. Is it just seems
They
weird
want to leave
to,
up to interpretation, I think.
It's
Like,
weird to
what
have.
do you think? Wouldn't you wouldn't you be curious? Wouldn't you kind of like piece it together yourself? There's a lot of this
But
game
then-
is like piecing it together yourself.
But then why have the achievements in the first place that pop up, right? Like maybe just don't have them and then let people. Because I agree. I'm
Maybe
totally
have
fine with
them
people-
and like have I don't know, like hide the text or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's probably
Anyway,
a better way
I
of
just
doing
thought.
it, but yeah.
I just thought it was. I just wanted to know if you guys had gotten them and maybe it just didn't work for me
No,
or something.
I haven't
but-
gotten them in different areas.
What are you playing on?
Steam.
Same.
Okay, I'm playing on Xbox.
Okay.
The only reason I was looking just
Didn't
because
he buy it for you on Steam?
but I already had it.
But if he
downloaded
wants to
on
sit on the
Xbox.
couch, yeah, it's fine. Not a big deal.
I already had it downloaded, so
I'm not
I've had
upset
it on
about
my.
Don't worry about it. It's $3.
I have it on Steam. I downloaded it on Steam too, on my Steam Deck. I just was playing. The only reason I asked, I was comparing achievements because there's no spoilers. They're just the name of the chapters, right?
Sure. And there's some other ones that we'll talk about later. That I got one of them. I want to see if you guys got too. So, yeah, how did you guys feel about the first area?
So
White area.
yeah, it was good. I
It's simple,
definitely
it's basic, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and it's trying to teach you. Yeah, so it looks really. My thing was the music. I thought the music was really well done.
very good. Like I had it cranked up, and yeah, it does really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first
lot.
one. Yeah,
It
I
is
thought the
shorter.
music. I thought the music was really good. I think the music is at its best in stage 2. Like holy shit!
So far, yeah.
So
I would.
this
love-
is
yeah.
when the game start. When like this little first section when we start and then we're going through, I was like immediately I started to feel. I was like, oh, this reminds me a lot of Journey. Like already.
So
That's
And
what I was
then-
thinking too.
the
And then
inspiration.
stage two hit, and I was like, okay,
Yeah,
this is
there's
really
a in your
remi-
face journey moment. So
It's very clear.
they made this
Okay,
game
cool.
wanting to make something that was like a cross between Journey and Ori of the Blind Forest. Now I
Okay.
kind of see a little bit of Ori, but Ori's a little more action packed, I think.
Yeah.
In my mindset, but like I guess the whole like star stuff that you collecting those kind of things, I can kind of see how that
still
would
see
be.
it.
And a little bit of Metroidvania is happening there as well when you don't have that in Journey. Yeah, I can see that.
As soon as you start collecting the stars, you really feel like you're playing Journey, right? They're like floating behind you, and at the one
Following
point
you, yeah.
in I forget which it's either chapter 2. I think it's chapter 2 when you have the most at one point. It's like 4 or 5, and it feels like that. I love the artwork so far.
It's amazing.
I have a guess, which I'll go ahead and say it now because none of us have played this game before, right?
No, I
Preston
have.
like-
I've beaten it.
Oh, both of you beat it. Okay.
No,
No.
I have.
Not him.
I have
Only
not.
Preston.
Okay, Preston, you have. I have not beaten it. I could be wrong. My guess is that she's dealing with the loss of a child. The reason I guess that, and again, could be way off.
I mean, do you
but
want me to say
find-
yes or no, or do you want me to just have you find out later?
No, I'll find out.
Okay.
I find her character design interesting, and I find her character design to look like she is pregnant or was
Oh.
pregnant. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I get this odd feeling of like just motherhood going through some of this with the way in a later chapter we'll talk about
Sure.
you're taking
Yeah.
care of a little minion sort of thing and you're guiding it along. So that's my guess.
Sure.
We'll see if
My
I'm right at
guess
the
is
end.
that she lost her mother.
That's a good one. The hands on the statue and the overwhelming presence I think is a good guess too.
Sure.
Yeah. So the second section though
Yes.
is one of the things before we get to like the obvious journey moment. I will say I think the most striking thing about this next section is the goddamn like berserk bloodstorm that ends up happening in between sections where like the dust storm is coming through. But it like the second it started, it reminded me so much of like just it felt like Berserk, where I'm just like, Jesus Christ, dude, it's just like blood red everywhere, and it's like oppressive, and the music kicks up
That's
to like
that's when the
organ piano
organ
notes,
is like hitting so hard.
yeah, it's
so
like
good.
like it's like a Castlevania thing, and I'm like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ! But it just reminded me. I was literally like, one of the notes was like this berserk ass like sandstorm going on.
Yeah. So I mean, you get the Red Into the World, and that's like you're at that area is where you get the hub world. So that's where you're going to be coming back to after you get done with each area. You bring back your stars and constellations like you did the first one. You got those 2 stars. Those stars went off into the sky, where you can kind of see they're making a little bit of a bridge, obviously.
Yep.
So it's every time you come back, you bring those stars that helped you get through the level. You bring those back. It builds a little bit more of that bridge.
I'm interested to learn at the end of this if actually, now that we're talking about it, apparently the Gris soundtrack is on Apple Music. I'm going to add it right now.
It's really good.
I'm interested to learn at the end if there's a secret ending for getting all of the hidden things, because like you guys said, I got 1 out of 2 in the first one.
So,
I missed 2 in the second. I think I got most in the third. I actually don't remember seeing the third.
If you get all of them, you get an extra scene.
Okay, so I'm just gonna look that up then.
But yeah,
Unless there's a way to go back. Unless there's a way to quickly
it's
go
not
back
like an
and get
alternate
out.
ending or anything like that. It's just an extra scene.
Yeah, I'll just look it up.
Yeah.
Cool.
So. Okay, so you get up to the Temple World Hub. It shows how many you have, mementos of each section, and kind of shows you a little symbol with those that section to kind of represent what it is.
And then you get mad when you're missing one.
Yeah, I walked through. I'm like, fuck, where's that second one? But I think with the power ups you get, you will possibly be able to just go back that way and get back to those. So you can explore around all you want, but the only path you can go to is the right, which is the red section. You slide down in a very journey-like fashion. I wrote down here, like to a T almost. You're flying past pillars.
Dude,
it's
it
red.
even does the sunset
fall
part
off
that's
the
coming
back.
down.
Yeah, and the jump off.
I was like, bro, that you guys, this is just the journey section.
Hey. Yeah, but it's very, very journey. So you get to there, you climb the tower, with has a giant sun in the background, and that's where you get the title card finally. And it's just
Very good title card, by
zooms
the way.
out, big ass sun around you in that little mountain, the tower you're climbing up to, and it's just very, very well done. But yeah, you get through there, you run past some rocks and windmills, and then that's when you start getting hit by the storm that Christian was talking about. So what you're essentially doing is you're trying to get to those like building areas before the storm hits you. Luckily, if the storm hits you, you do tumble back, but it does stop you to a certain point. So you're not constantly falling back as the storm's hitting you. It does kind of pause you a little bit, so that way you're not completely redoing the section that you were at just because the storm's there.
And there's no like health penalty or anything like that.
So
this
game has no fails.
Right.
You cannot die. You cannot fail save. There's nothing you can like fail on this game.
Which I think is an interesting choice, but a smart choice, because if you're tackling a game about grief, and the whole idea is overcoming the 5 stages, right, of grief and actually coming to terms with everything that happened and moving forward, it would add insult to injury of the story.
It'd be very a dark story at that point too, as well.
It would, right? Like, and even if it wasn't like a serious death, if it was just like, hey, you have to start this whole section over,
sure.
it would really take you out of the beauty of the game. Because I will say, like, everything in this game is so tight and so polished. It is gorgeous, and I love some of the puzzles. Like even the ones that are just basic, like, and the ones that are staged to where if you keep running, it's gonna work out. Like you're gonna make the bridge or whatever. Like it's just so pretty and put together.
Yeah, and the way they do the zoom outs or their zoom ins are very well placed. Yeah, it's fantastic. So you hit those storms that push you back. I mentioned the crazy organ notes. You get to the 2 stars, and you use it to make a bridge. And then the next you get up to this giant... You get into this rock, and then as you get into the rock, it pulls back, and the rock sprouts these giant legs. And it's this big-ass rock that's just walking through this red area. And it gets you to the next section. You get a little bit... There's a memento in there you can get as it's walking through. But also it just brings you up to this little tower section. Let's see here. Yep, and then that is where you get your first power up. That's where you get the block power. So you go up there, the 2 stars align in that little square. This weird little door kind of section opens up at the very tippy top, a big glowing light, and then now her dress can turn into a block, and that kind of solidifies you. It's a very hard, it's a very banging, you can break stuff with it. You can stop the wind from pushing you back. Now you can't run with this block, so you can still do a little honk, like kind of forward, like walk through, but you're not being pushed or you're not being stopped by anything. And now you can break environmental pieces that can get you, for example, when you hit the block, I don't know if you guys did, but you go right backwards to where you saw one of those little mementos to smash down to get that memento. And then that's when you go forward from there. Is that one of the 2 that you missed, Alex?
No, I got that one. Oddly, I don't know which 2 I missed, but no, I got that.
No, yeah,
I spend every time I hop into a level, and it's only because I, have felt the presence of other games in this game. I will drop in, I'll figure out which way I'm supposed to go, and immediately run as far backward as I can.
There's been times where I walked forward,
every time.
Oh, this must be the way, and like I go the other way. I'm like, oh wait, now this is the way. I'm like, fuck, which way do I go now? Because both of them have like zoomed out and shown me something cool. I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna take me to the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I was pretty good on that.
I wish every game just stole the thing from Dead Space where you can press a button and it says, hey,
That's where you need to go.
the critical path is that way. And you go, great, I will go the other way then. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe put like a little Ninja Turtle kind of thing that says "Go" that way, and you're like, no,
You
I'll go this
could-
way.
Even in RPG games like this, you could do that in other interesting ways. Like you
Okay.
could have music fade out as you ran the opposite direction, music fade in, or hit their peak level.
You can just press
you
a button
can do
and
so
then
many
like press a button and then the little stars just start floating a certain way, and you can
sure.
go like, cool, I'll just go the other way then. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, you got your new power up now, so you can get around a little bit differently. You come to a temple with a bunch of crying statues and bells. You see some of smaller of those little rocks walking around, so the ones that are smaller than you. You can bust your way down to this white floor after that. So you bust down, you fall really hard into this one section, there's a giant bell, and then you bust down again. And then now you hit this area to where there's just white floor. So there's no more red. Now it's just you. You're walking around this like small area, and there's like a bunch of crying statues again. But these are more like the ones that like are hunkered over. And you're seeing your reflection on the bottom, but on the bottom you see all these black butterflies down there too. You notice that when you hit with your black form, that these butterflies get a little erratic and kind of go a little crazy. So you do it a couple times. Some of the statues you can break as well if you wanted to while you're doing that. And that therefore just all those butterflies go crazy, and they shoot you out as like volcano-like section, and that's where you get to the top to where what I call like the big windmill section. Towards a bunch of structures and a very nice design.
I assumed that because I did that and I didn't run around down there because I just started smashing stuff and then it sent me right back up. I'm guessing the one memento I missed was down there.
I'm guessing I missed one too because I
didn't
also
see
did
it,
the same thing.
But what I think is that like 'cause I didn't realize that you can break the statues until I got like a little further in. Because I kind of wanted to look around, I didn't find anything, and then I broke like one statue. I'm like, oh, but that was like my last hit to get me to get shot out. So I think you can break a statue, and maybe one of those are right behind there. I'm not sure. Who knows? I was not following a guide for this. I was kind of seeing what came naturally as far as what I can get. So as you have gotten down there and you get shot back up the volcano, now you're on top of this huge multi-windmill area with more rock tunnels and sections of that like structure. Now, I don't know if you guys got the trophy for this one, but I got the trophy for this one. There's a lot of these little tiny little stacked rock structures. Where you walk past it, it gave it a little shaky shake, and you can topple them over if you use your block form. If you do all in the level, you will get a trophy for that, for breaking all the rock formations.
I only broke 3. I don't recall a trophy popping because I wasn't
There's a
paying
lot
attention.
more
Like
than
I just,
3. Yeah,
I say I just saw a few moving around. I was like, oh, smash.
I noticed the first
like,
one move
bulk
around a little
smash.
bit, and it's kind of like Jedi Survivor. They have those two to where it's like these little rock structures just sitting around there. I'm like, you're going to put like these little topple of rocks things out. I'm going to knock them over. Like you're asking for me to knock these over if you're putting this in front of me. And not everything is destructible in the game. So when you do see something like that, like, okay, I'm going to do the block here. We're going to destroy it. And you do get a trophy out of it. But other than that, it's not really going to be any benefit to you to actually get those down. So you go a little further through this windmill-like area, and then there's this clockwork area to where you get like some light areas to where there's Some of them are just going around circles. Some of them are teeter-tottering back and forth. Again, sections where you're having more of those stars, more of those constellation bridges. You go to the right side, you grab a star. You go to the left side, you grab a star. It builds up the constellation. Now, as I was going through here, there's one section there that I did want to kind of mention out, is that you're going on the right side, you kind of fly up a little bit. You notice this giant rock in the way of one of those stars. You go to the left a little bit, you climb up the section, and you can jump down to kind of break one of these rocks that are walking around, because you notice it has a little crumbly bits on the top. And once you do that, a little robot structure dude comes out of there, all like, whoa, and he kind of runs off to the left, and he jumps into that big rock, which therefore brings out the big legs. So you kind of know that those big legs are kind of coming from these little guys. And you can go get that star and continue on with your duties, whatever we're doing here. So once you get that done, you go into the hot air balloon kind of puzzle that's there on the left, which is a lot of fun. I thought that was really nice looking. And then now you have all the stars to make the bridge. You get to the giant windmill section to where you got to smash down on top of it. Now, there's a couple of these puzzles to where you're smashing down. You have to hit it to where like the circle is complete, and then it opens up and kind of unlocks the next section. Did you guys have any trouble with the big windmill section? I had the trouble with the first smash section because I didn't realize you can go in the middle to hit both sections. But with this one, there is 2 sections you could pound down on, but you can kind of see where you're going. If you kind of see a little bit, you do see the extra sections of the windmill. So you kind of, if you put 2 and 2 together, you can figure out that you can just get to the second top section. Because if you only do that first drop down area, it doesn't go down far enough.
So I didn't have trouble knowing where to jump from when I figured out I needed to go up the windmill. It took me longer than it needed to realize there were little white highlights and that I needed to climb the windmill. Yeah. Once I figured it, it was good, but it took me a while. It did take a hot second,
yeah.
Yeah.
The nice thing is about that is that they put you in a spot where you can't super backtrack. Mm-hmm. So, like, they'll be like, no, this is the area you need to be in, figure it out, rather than you going, I'm going to go all the way back here, and, like, I just can't find anything to find out that it wasn't the section you're supposed to be in. You just need to figure out a little bit more. I do like how they like, no, you're staying here, it's the puzzle's here, trust me. Just go back and figure out, because there's only so many things you can do. Like, yeah, even with the new the new like square ability, like there's only so many things that you can do in these areas. It's jump a little bit, and right now you also have the ground pound. So you do figure it out. It does can take you a little bit sometimes. So once you do that and you get the windmill going, the windmill takes you back up, and you get up there, and it takes you to another hand. And this is where we have one of those moments to where she gets on the hand, she kind of curls up, and then releases green into the area, and you get the green achievement. And then this is where, you go back to the hub. It's kind of, we're doing the rinse and repeat now, so we go back to the hub. And now in the hub, where that red tree was, you now have a nice green square, which is essentially what the trees are now. So like you got foliage, they're going to be just little square trees. So now you can go across this bridge. Once you start doing that, it tosses the constellations up, and you get to the second area, which you fall down into, which is the forest. So overall, how do you guys feel about the red area?
I liked the beginning more than this middle part. So like the middle, like the dust storms and like going all through that part, I liked more than the windmill part. It was cool. It just, like you said, there was a couple, like that last section where I went up and then I was like, oh, okay, cool. It wants me to jump from up here. So I did it, slam down, and then it's like this close, and you're like, and you look and you're like, oh, come on. And so then you have to go all the way back up, and then up again. It's like, now you're at the top, and it's like, okay, well, you didn't have to let me jump off from this top part.
Could have choreographed that a little bit better for us, but for a game that's maximum 4 hours long, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's just one of those.
It is, yeah. If you're going to nitpick, we're going to nitpick, yeah.
But yeah, but again, music was on point. The dust storm part felt like super oppressive and crazy and stuff like that. But in general, I actually really liked the aesthetic of when you're down in that bottom part before the birds like shove you up, right? I actually really liked the aesthetic down there, and I wish that maybe they would have done a little bit more down in that area to like explore, find things before it sent us back up. Because like I was just smashing pots, like to smash pots, like I had just been doing that the whole time. So I got down there, I smashed like 3 pots, and it shot me back up, and I was like, wait, what the fuck just happened? Like why? Only until I hit that until I hit that last pot, and then I looked down in the reflection and I saw all the fucking birds down there. I was like, oh, okay, well, fuck. I noticed that way too late, and then it sent me up. But
Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked the red section. I will agree with Christian. I like the beginning more than the end. Only reason being because the puzzles got a bit more intricate and were bigger, so it was harder to take in as a whole. I think it slowed down the gameplay a little bit, right? Like I found myself doing a little bit more backtracking versus the beginning, which was just like forward, jumping, and so on. But yeah, I liked it. Music, amazing. The
I love the
artwork is
addition
fantastic.
to where you get actual creatures in there, like the little walkie rock kind of guys, like the kind of art.
Yeah,
idea.
some of that stuff is great, and I'm always impressed when you play games that don't look like games, right? Like they don't look like your typical sprite or your typical CG created character. Like this literally looks like somebody's watercolor painting came to life, and that's super impressive to me.
Yeah. All right. And so when you get through there, you smash it, lifts you up, you get the hand, you get the green going down. Like I said, the main hub. You get into the forest. So once you get down there to the forest, obviously it's a lot more green, lush, a little more lively. You see a bunch of these little fun creatures popping up. It's not just the little rock people. They got little cute little eyeballs on them, and they kind of hide away when you walk past them. And then now you got like the world is kind of filling up with more as well. So you get like bird sounds, more plant and foliage, like I said, is coming into. So the world's building up. The trees are kind of like going to be your platforms. Is what you're kind of be doing now as far as like your platform puzzles. They can vanish on you. Some of them can like go from like full square to like diagonal to kind of be like the ramp for you. And then
can they?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
boy, can they?
Yeah, you gotta get a little frustrated. Before we get to that, though, we see our new friend. I named him Cubehead. You see Cubehead, and he looks at you, and then he runs off. He's like, "Oh!" and then gets out.
I love the monotone way to. I named him Cubehead. Anyways,
He's my friend. But yeah, you'll see him pop up here and there, like in the foreground or background, kind of following you around, figuring out what the fuck you're doing.
question.
Yeah.
Did we all give him all the apples?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Did you get an achievement for giving him all the apples?
I got 4 or 5 achievements. I just don't remember which ones they were.
Maybe I didn't give him all the apples. I don't think I got the achievement for it. It must have been the one I missed.
If you got an achievement for giving him all the apples, then you gave him all the apples.
I think I got an achievement for that, but again, I got 4 or 5.
Might have missed one.
Playthrough.
Might have missed
you
one.
missed the apples.
I might have missed one. I got a lot of apples. You got a lot of them, okay? The dude got his fill. I just didn't get all of them. But yeah, after Cubehead runs off, that's when you go into the platforming areas. You get morphing trees. And what did I say? You go into the morphing trees, and you hit the apples. Yep, Cubehead eats it. And he follows you around at that point, so he's kind of following behind you to get more apples. And then you drop through more of the platforming puzzles, and now little Cubehead dances around, he's super happy, and he's following you around, also smashing stuff with you now. So now he's kind of helping you go through, which I wish we could have had a little bit more of that, as far as like the co-op puzzle kind of deal, to where like you're going through, you both have to smash, or he's jumping up to the top platform, and you gotta have him smash. Once you smash, he smashes, so you're kind of controlling him a little bit.
They did a really interesting thing in that too, where at one point, like, he's following you, right? You're running together, and all of a sudden, like, you jump up and he can't go, and then you get him up with you, and now all of a sudden you're, instead of running on the same plane, you're now running opposite each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they just did a really good job to manipulate him with your character. I
They
really
don't give you a lot to do with him, but what you do, they do very well with him. All right, so you do more of those tree platformings, and then he goes down into the little hidey hole. You get to a spot where you see the upgrade spot, but you don't have enough stars for it. So you go to the right, where you go to the cube heads, little community / village, which is very cute, like in like a little cave area. He gives you one of the stars. Then you go to the left side, where you get the star and platforming, but this time the platforms change when you jump. So you'll see them there, and you'll have to time your jumps right to where it'll morph into the thing that you need once you're jumping at it. And then, of course, I'm sitting here on the right side of this tall tree area. trying to get this one block, not realizing I can start on the left side, and then that's how you're probably supposed to do it. But yeah, I gave it a couple tries with that right side. I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to make? Oh, left side. Yeah,
That
memento
one-
over there.
That one,
no problem. The first one you run into where it goes block, block, triangle, you have to go over and then back up. But when you go to the left, you can't go left, block, over. You have to go left, block, down one, then back to the right, and then left. That section, I was so frustrated
I just wanted
before
to
I finally
do
got the pattern. Because sometimes I would know it, and I'd be like, oh, I got it, and I would go too fast. So I'd mistime something and just like fall all the way down or something. Like that one took me forever. But where you could control it, that was easy. That
better,
one was fine.
yeah.
yeah, I didn't have the problem with control. Mine was the time where I had to. It was like you had to wait for a second, but then it was like I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, it wants me to fall on this one to go down and then come up, and like the one you're talking about.
That's the one I'm
yeah.
talking. Yes.
Also, really quick, because we're still in this section, I looked it up. I am the only one that fed him the requisite
All
amount of
the
apples.
All right. Nice.
You guys both hate Cube Head. It's confirmed.
I just didn't notice.
You didn't want him to be fed. It's okay. I get it.
Funny.
I can tell. I know exactly which one you guys missed too because I almost missed it.
Yeah.
Which was so when he comes up, when he teleports up to that top branch, when you guys cross that little tree right there. If you are when he's up on that top branch, you have to immediately turn around because he will stay on that top branch, and you run all the way back, and there's a little apple that's sitting on the top of that tree that he will eat, and then you can keep going.
That's what I missed. Yeah. All right. Well, from there, let's see. We got platforming. Yep. Vanishes into a hole. There's his village. I need to put my thumb where I've been reading. Got notes. We got plenty of notes. So we got those 2 stars. We go over there to where we get our power up. And then this is where we get our double jump / glide / super jump. So you get the double jump. Once you do that second jump, you float a little bit. When you come down, you don't come down as fast. And then if you find the little section with like a cluster of butterflies, little red butterflies, you can use that, hold down the A button, and it like shoots you, like you did that coming out of the volcano. So that will be kind of what you're doing a lot of going forward in this level. So there's still some more platforming with the trees, but you're intermixing it with some super jumping there as well, which finally gets you to what I guess you would consider would be a boss. So a big old inky bird comes through, and the animation for this Mean Crow. The animation for this reminds me a lot of the movie Fern Gully, where the toxin monster, where the toxin monster comes in. And
that was the toxin monster.
No, it wasn't. She's trying to come out of me. But like the smog monster or whatever from the end of Fern Gully. You guys ever watch Fern Gully?
When I was
Ages
a child.
ago.
Robin Williams plays the little fruit bat dude. Yeah. But like the smoke monster would like the dude that smog like all sludgy and kind of coming around, but that very fluid movement of the art it reminded me a lot of that. But yeah, so you get this bird. He's hanging around. You're kind of curious what he's doing, but then you find out that he's going to scream and push at you. So if you get anywhere near him, he's going to scream, push at you, tosses you around, and then you have to use the block power to get close to him because you can stop it, as you learned from the storm. And sometimes you would even use the birds screaming and pushing to get you to certain platforms. And I thought was nice. So it's not just you want to get rid of him. It's not just you want to get past him. It's also, okay, well, he's going to push me pretty fucking far. So if I jump up, do my little floaty thing, he's going to toss me all the way to the other side of this level, which is where I need to go. So that was a lot of fun. And then we're to my last page. I wrote a lot of notes. And then once you do that, you get to the end of the bird level by traveling to the top of the building. And then you and the bird are flying up super, super fast and nonstop. And you start getting to where some of these bells are. And
this was the part where I felt the Ori.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
yeah, I can see that for sure. Yeah, totally. And then once you get to these bells areas, the bird hits a couple of those bells and doesn't like it. It's very mad. Gets very upset. Mm-hmm. Just like our lethal protector Venom, he doesn't like the sound of ringing bells. So he's all goopy and goes away. Fucking Topher Grace is in the game.
I think that was an interesting... I mean, like, if we're going to talk about, like, bargaining and acceptance thing, I think that was an interesting push and pull, right? Between, like, sometimes the bird is against you, Sometimes it's with you and you're using it to accomplish like where you're going to go, and then at one point when you fly up you're flying together sort of thing, and then you break away. So like if you're looking for an allegory there of how it ties into the grief piece, I thought it was really, really well done.
I thought like because like there's still red in this level, so there's still anger here. So to me, this is more of like her lashing
Yep.
out. I would guess, like
Yep.
the bird is just fucking pissed and screams. That's her lashing out onto you or yourself, and like the red in there is still kind of like the anger is still lingering. So I like to kind of like just think of it that way. Again, like
That's
this
a
isn't-
good call too. 'Cause,
This is
like,
not me saying something like I heard the developers say, because like I try to stay away from like listening to the developers like explain a whole bunch of stuff. Like I watched one video, it was like the colors of Gris, which kind of like helped explain some things to me, kind of like put some things in my mind. But this is not like it's not 100% like this is the answer to what this game is. Like you can interpret this a different way if you feel it meant something different to you. That's why it's supposed to be like art in a video game.
Yeah, and I love too to your point, like it's not just white in the beginning and then red and then green, right? Like a lot of those colors will fade in and out at different places. It's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous.
Like when you went to that part where like they hit the mirror section to where you're stopping down with the blocks, like that's just all white. So like you like that to me like that's you regressing in the grief. Like they said you like you got to this one part like oh well you stumbled down this hole and then now you've kind of gotten back to this section again to where you're isolated and alone. So you get up there, you fire the bell. He makes, he screams at you. So what your idea is to do is get your block foreman, walk close to him, and then the bird gets super pissed, lets out a big old yell, and hits some of these the bells to kind of make him flustered. And then you get up to the giant bell, do the same thing, which took me a little bit to do because you gotta time that really well. Because the bird, like once you get like the bird will scream, but then we'll stop for a second to catch his breath, and then we'll do it again. But you got to be really quick on getting to the edge of that bell, waiting for him to stop, and then jumping immediately and slamming down as soon as you get to the part where you can get down to the platforming. Because otherwise, that bird will push you immediately. But yeah, once you do that, you get the bird to hit the big old bell, and that's when the bird dissipates. And then you go up to the stairs, leading you up to another one of the hand statues, which is where going to be a stopping point. You get the blue achievements. The blue goes into the world, and it starts raining. And that's where we'll start off on part 2. But how do you guys feel about the third level?
So my favorite part of the game happened in the third level, which is the running around with Cubehead.
Yep.
I
love Cubehead. That was great.
Yep, he's great. Great. I love going to the little underground village that they've got, and they're all waving at you, just being like, "Hey," you're like, "Hey," and you go, fantastic. I thought the whole section was good. That is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Just because it's like there's this little cute moment where you can tell that this character is obviously Gris is not having a great time. Period. With whatever is going on, right? Whoever died or whatever happened, not having a blast. So there's this moment where the little cute guy sort of like runs around her and is like, yeah, like does like a little dance and is like hanging out, and he fluffs her little dress or whatever, and she's like looking down at it and doing this little thing, and it's just this like nice little moment that was just like, oh, okay, cool, like something nice is happening in the middle of, the killer sandstorm that's out to rip your skin from your body apparently.
And to me, like, maybe it felt like a little more of like you letting people in, you helping people helping you out through this. Like maybe you are part of that journey with them as well.
Sure.
Kind of interpretation.
Yeah, for sure. But it was just a great section.
Overall, nice to have a nice, warm-hearted feeling during the middle of this, which is kind of a little bit of hell.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree with Christian. I still really like the beginning with Cubehead. This level was more vertical, right? Up the towers
Definitely.
and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was very pretty. It continues to be pretty. Not the completionist piece, but like the drive to try and find those secrets, it made it a little tough on me because like you can't always tell like, am I going the right way? I know they're the secrets for a reason, right? But like if I get the chance to explore, I will explore, but sometimes in this game you'll just hit areas where like boom, you're gone. Like you take off this way or you slide down something and it kind of makes the decision for you. Yeah. So I guess that encourages multiple playthroughs, but like that's the only thing I didn't love about being so vertical is that I would get areas where you couldn't return to, I think.
So I have the same thing. So it's definitely a me problem in that, like, I don't want to, because I should just be okay with the idea of missing whatever it is and just
Correct.
being like,
But if it's
Same.
just the
cool,
one,
I'll go.
and it happens twice. To me, it happened twice. Like, I just missed the one. Oh, I just
But-
missed the one. Like, God damn it.
So, like, the fact that I know now, especially, that it is tied to an extra scene at the ending makes it even worse. Because I'm like, oh, God
You
damn
know
it.
you
I
get
just.
something out of it, yeah.
Well, but sometimes you don't, right? So, like, you know, especially if we're looking at this game's comparisons, right? Like, or not comparisons, the things they actively said they were taking from, is Journey, right? Like the thing there is like you're finding little pieces of a scarf, right? And it keeps adding to your scarf to allow you to float longer.
There's
And
little
then
symbols you can find.
if you so happen to find all of the scarf pieces, then you get the super cool white suit,
yeah.
and that's it. But at the end of the day, it's completely visual, and it doesn't actually give you anything else, right? So then it's one of those things where you don't, especially in those moments when I don't know that it's a collectible, and in a moment like Journey, I'm just running around, I'm just like, oh, cool, it's just a power-up that I'm getting that will give me extra jump, right? Then it's only until after I finish it, or when, you know, I have somebody who's like running up on the side of me and I see that their scarf is like mad long, I'm like, yo, there must be fucking tons of these things to get my scarf super long. You know, I gotta step my scarf game up. But like, whatever it is, and then you finish the game and you're fine. But it's those ones I don't mind because it's just like there's nothing there. And in Ori, it's a similar fact. There's a shit ton of collectibles in Ori, but none of them change anything. They're just collectibles for the sake of. Now, but again, different kind of games, right? So like Ori is a pure platformer, and so those are there just for the challenge. Like you walk into a thing, you see a light seed at the end of it, and you're like, I'm gonna have to do some wild shit to get that one, and you're like, you know, doing your fucking zip jumps and all the other crazy shit that's not in this, right? So, but for this, it's like when you tie a scene to it, especially in a game that's short, so you're trying to, if it's not like this game isn't handing you the story, right? Like you're sort of just trying to figure it out or like piece it together in your head to see what's going on. So any extra amount of information that you can glean from it is like very good,
very precious,
right? Like you want it, but yeah. And so you're sitting there. So now that I know it's a scene, it's like, God damn it, dude! Like I wish I had all of those. So now, but it's a me thing in that some people you should just be okay with not having it, and you're like, oh, I'll go and I'll figure it out the second time. But for me, I'm like, I want to know what it is.
Well,
and
I think you get to go back to those levels before you finish it. So there was one in the green one. I know which one I missed. Because when I was walking through there, I went forward a little bit, and it kind of zooms in on you, so you don't really see it. And then you walk back, and it zoomed back in. But before it zoomed completely, I saw it was like this one on top of this like really tall tree. And I'm like, there's no way I can get up there. But right beneath it, there's those little red butterflies that I did not remember that it would choose to shoot you up. I did not have the super jump yet. And this was like super early on in the forest. So like by the time I get up to where the bird's at, you can't double back once you get that power.
I figured what they would do is on your second playthrough, they would just let you have all of the powers.
I don't think there's a second, like there's no like new game plus to this. This is like you go through and you finish it, it's done. You can start a new game, but you're going to be looking for it and figuring out that.
If they let you go back, then that's fine. It's just, but yeah, it's.
But maybe
then
not. Maybe it's like you get the powers and you're not supposed to do that super jump right then and there. And you say, oh, well, I'm going to go back because I saw that one thing, but I didn't. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's my only thing is I'm just like, I would rather the collectibles be there for just like collectibles, and then they're not tied to anything, or if they are tied to something,
just a trophy.
Allow me to have an easier time to go like before I leave an area to be like, oh, let me go back and try to figure out if I've missed something, or like
some warning that you're going to be going to a point of no return.
Let me pause the screen and see how many I've gotten up until that point, or what? Because to Alex's point, yeah, like there's even within certain sections there are blocked off parts. Like when I'm at the top of the windmill parts, I cannot go back to the dust storm part. Like if I missed one in the dust storm part, I'm fucked. There's nothing I can do about it. Not about it. It's just it's just one of those nitpicky things.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. This game is super, super good. minus the same thing we were just talking about here, right? Like that's
Small
an
things.
that's an us problem, and it could change by the end. That's my only frustration with it right now, and it's not even a real frustration because the game itself is good. I find myself trying to like guess, what I think this is or what I think it ties into. But it's pretty, and it's amazing how much emotion a game like this can invoke when there is zero story, there is zero dialogue. It is all colored music. That's all that it is, right? So far, so far well done. I like it.
Nice. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, next time on Dragon Ball Z, we'll be doing the second half of it, and we'll be finishing up the game. So if you're playing along, feel free to start from blue, where it's all rainy, and you can continue on from there, and we will finish it up.
Yeah, not bad. Is there so the first? Yeah, we have what? 2 more? 3 more? 3 more.
You have blue, and then I think the next color technically is yellow. And then maybe like a little bit of a this is the end kind of thing.
Right, the end thing, kind of like we did. Yeah, that's good. I'm excited to finish it up. I mean, just to see where it goes. Not
We
because
could have
I don't
done this
like it.
probably in one run, because pretty much all the videos I was watching as far as like just to kind of see some stuff. Was
I'm not gonna lie.
2.5 hour run, but
I had half of mine to finish it today.
Same.
No, I'll wait.
Same.
But I really did have of mine
some
to
people who
finish.
finished it in 4 hours, or some people who finished it like 2.5. I'm like, we probably could have finished it.
I got it in blue. I got into blue, and I was like, I didn't see if I got the save spot or not, so I ran forward and like fell into some water, which I mean, I'm sure you guys know is coming. I fell into some water. I saw the save
What?
pop up, and I was like, oh, cool. But when I did that, I was like, I could just keep going. I didn't though. Like Christian, I also stopped. So,
It's okay. But either way, yeah, we'll be finishing that.
but that's a
We'll
good
do
thing. That's a good
Yeah,
thing.
it means
It's
that
a
we
good
wanted
game.
to play it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, cool.
Makes sense.
All right. We've had some duds. We'll continue to have some duds. That's
Hey,
what
it's gonna
happens.
happen.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that is part 1. If for anybody listening, if you haven't tried Gris, I recommend you try Gris because it's either free on Game Pass, it's super cheap on the App Store, I believe. Then of course everywhere else you can buy it too.
If if we're thinking about it, if we're comparing it to Pix 2, this is a hell of a lot better than Far Wars Torch and Leech 2.
Yep. Much better game.
Yeah. By the end of it, might even be better than Beyond Good and Evil. So
Probably
So
already
far,
better than that
yeah,
one.
I think so far, probably.
probably less issues. That is for sure.
Oh,
So.
yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, give it a try. But we will be back with you next week as we finish up this game, and then Christian will be announcing his game.
We already know what it is.
It's the next Metro, right?
Dude,
Yeah.
so sassy. You already know, motherfucker. I'm just.
Well, I don't think
fucking
about it.
shit.
I'm like, I'm like, no, we know what it is. You said you're gonna make us do all three.
I was gonna say it just because I was gonna bill it as who knows because he could decide not to do that one and be
He
like,
could.
I'll
You
throw
never-
something
you
else in
never
between.
know. Tune in
but
next
now
time.
Preston
Yeah,
has
Preston,
made it.
you don't know.
You don't know. So tune in next week. Anyway, with that, Preston, it's late. You know what to do.
Hit it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If watching is more your thing, check out youtube.com/thetestingroom or Twitch TV/testingroompod. To leave comments and ask questions, follow us on Instagram @testingroompod and email us at testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.